Hello. Hello. Incredible listeners and viewers tuning in on YouTube. Oh, it's Mira here. Bubbling with so much energy, Bubbling with so much energy, I'll all my everything into a mini adventure, right? Oh, optimize my travel packing structure, optimize my travel packing tracking strategy for my next trip. Ups. I travel packing strict and try to optimize my role absolutely ever packing strategy me everything into Leah for one giant trip so fine totally everything into wine safquo. Kind of chatting to it. Still ling wine tongue white. Holy. See yeah. So well so
But the goal has only been Sanitarken. Mira, you really are a chaotic genius, aren't you? I swear you could make a reality show just out of art you. A reality show just out of your Morty Avalan reality show just by Chandler, I can picture a laundry avalanche. Kicks did you least to? To manage a light bully question is did you at least live and manage to find both socks ox afterward? I should eat both suction is both living the subtly left or eat maze the living the sub sip white in the subtly fight reality bite white cool bite me and bite vape fight fill the stirred we on a clee stole all state stirred filled by mid by it for way by the star do it.
Oh, come on, Leo. Maybe your coffee radar was just a little off. You spend so much time observing others. Sometimes you miss the giant arrow pointing the right way. My socks, by the way, are currently starring in their own solo careers. They're quite artistic, really. But speaking of going in circles and finding your true direction, that actually leads us perfectly into what we're unraveling today. We're diving deep into two incredibly distinct countries that often leave people wondering where to even begin.
Indeed, friends, indeed. If you've ever found yourself pondering a move, a vacation, or maybe even a surprising marital journey to a new land and your mind keeps short-circuiting between the very different destinations, you're in the right place. Oh, today, we're putting Lebanon and Liechtenstein head-to-head. Yep, you heard that right, the vibrant, bustling heart of the Middle East, Lebanon, against the tiny, tranquil, and incredibly wealthy principality of Liechtenstein. Well,
Are you dreaming of a life surrounded by ancient history, incredible cuisine, and a lively social scene, but also wondering about stability? Or is your heart set on pristine mountain landscapes, financial security, and a quiet, highly organized existence? Highly organized existence. We're talking everything from daily life and economic realities to cultural nuances and, yes, even the kind of humor you'll encounter. We're here to answer those burning questions like, well, where will my euros or dollars go further?
exactly. Think of this as your personal consultation without the hefty fee. We'll explore the ins and outs, giving you the real talk so you can figure out which corner the world truly calls to you. We'll even delve into what it's like to build a life there, whether you're bringing a family, looking for adventure, or simply searching for a new perspective. And if you're enjoying this deep dive, please hit that like button right now on YouTube like us to compare next.
Whether you're looking for your next big adventure or contemplating a life-altering move, prepare to have your questions answered, your perspectives broadened, and maybe even a chuckle or two along the way. Moving on from those general thoughts, let's look at a topic that's always on everyone's mind when they plan a trip or a big move: general safety and crime rates. And for our two countries today, Lebanon and Liechtenstein, we've got quite the contrast, don't we, Leah? One feels like a vibrant, bustling movie, and the other Perhaps like a very well-organized documentary.
Mira, you're right. If safety had a spectrum, these two would be at opposite ends just to keep things interesting for us observers. Wow! Lebanon, the land of legendary hospitality and incredible food. I've heard people there invite you to dinner before you've even finished asking for directions. But on the flip side, navigating the safety landscape there can feel a bit like playing a real-life video game with occasional pop-up challenges.
Oh, I was just about to ask that. So, it's not like danger is lurking around every corner, right? It's more about being aware of your surroundings, especially in bigger cities. I mean, every big city has its quirks. In Beirut, for example, petty theft or pickpocketing can happen, just like in any major tourist spot. Oh, but the general feeling I get is that the people are so warm and welcoming, it makes you feel safe despite any headlines you might see. Do you guys agree with us, our dear listeners?
Pop-up challenges is a generous way to put it, Mira. From a comedian's perspective, Lebanon's safety situation provides a lot of material. Let's just say, whoa, you've got to appreciate the resilience. While the warmth is real, the occasional protest or economic instability can certainly change the vibe on the ground. It's less about muggings and more about, is that road going to be open today? Or will my Axie driver actually take me to the right place or on a scenic tour of his cousin's village?
Oh, Leo, you always see the funny side, even when you're hinting at chaos. But that's the thing, it's about staying informed. Now, let's swing to Liechtenstein, the other end of your spectrum. This place is so safe. I heard a joke that the biggest crime wave in a year was someone accidentally leaving their front door unlocked. Seriously, it's almost unreal how low the crime rates are there.
You're not wrong, Mira. I'm certain our listeners living in Liechtenstein are nodding right now. My material cupboard runs dry just thinking about it. It's the kind of place where if you lose your wallet, it'll probably be returned with all the cash and an extra cookie. Wow. Their police force probably spends more time helping lost tourists find the nearest cheese shop than investigating anything serious. It's like a perfectly manicured garden of safety, so quiet you can hear a pin drop.
Wow, a cookie with your wallet. That's my kind of country. Ooh, it's definitely a place where you can relax. No constantly checking your bag or worrying about late night walks. And I think that's why many people, especially families, are drawn to places like Liechtenstein, where that sense of peace is almost tangible. If you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments. We love hearing from you.
Tangible peace indeed. Although, I wonder if the biggest concern for residents there is accidentally jaywalking. Oops, I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Do you find extreme safety a comfort, or does it make you a bit suspicious? Because for a comedian, too much order can be, well, a little boring. It's like having a perfectly symmetrical joke, it just doesn't land right.
You need a little chaos for your art, don't you, Leo? But seriously, for most people, knowing they can walk around freely without constant vigilance is a huge relief. And that's what Liechtenstein offers, a very stable, secure environment where community trust is incredibly high. It's a tiny nation, and everyone pretty much knows everyone, which probably helps keep things in check.
It's like a neighborhood watch program for an entire country, isn't it? Wow, you sneeze and vaused and someone in Balzer says bless you. But comparing it to Lebanon, where things can be a bit more dynamic, you see how much local context shapes safety. In Lebanon, the biggest challenge isn't usually street crime in a typical sense, but rather the broader political and economic ripples that can affect daily life. You're more likely to get caught in a traffic jam than a grand larceny.
That's a great point, Leo. So, for Lebanon, it's less about the stranger danger and more about understanding the current social climate and avoiding areas that might be experiencing protests or unrest. But for tourists sticking to the well-known spots, applying common sense precautions, safety depending on where you.
Absolutely. So, if you're planning a trip, whether you're looking for the thrill of a bustling, complex city like Beirut or the serene, almost comically safe streets of Liechtenstein, always check official travel advisories and local news. And remember, this podcast is brought to you by JetOff AI, your guide to navigating all these unique aspects of travel, no matter where you're heading. Wow! From chaotic beauty to peaceful perfection, it's all part of the global tapestry.
Picking up from our last chat about just trying to figure out which country even has Wi-Fi, let's dive into something a little less, shall we say, digital, and more about the actual ground you're standing on. We're talking political stability and social harmony today, and our two contenders are quite the pair, Lebanon and Liechtenstein. Well, I mean, you can't get much more opposite than that, right?
Oh, now this is where things get interesting. Stability versus, well, let's call it dynamic equilibrium. Lebanon, for all its undeniable vibrancy and incredible people, has a political landscape that can feel like a game of Jenga where someone keeps pulling out the bottom block. Ouch. You're there, trying to enjoy your coffee, and suddenly the government's gone. Whoa, I'm certain that our listeners living there can relate to that feeling.
Leo, you always have a way of putting things. It's true, Lebanon's political scene can be a lot. It's like a really dramatic soap opera, but with real-life consequences. Oh, you have so many different groups and opinions, and sometimes it feels like everyone's just trying to find their voice all at once, which, hey, can be beautiful but also a bit loud. But despite all that, the social harmony, the social harmony therein find joy amid the chaos, that's truly remarkable.
Dramatic soap opera is one way to put it. I'd say it's more like a particularly intense improv comedy show where everyone has a different script and no one knows who's in charge of the props. But speaking of peace and quiet, then you have Liechtenstein. Oh, you could probably hear a pin drop in the parliament building there if they even make noise. It's the kind of place where political stability isn't just a phrase. It's the kind of place where political stability isn't just a phrase. It's pretty much etched into every mountain peak. I'm actually curious about.
Whoa, Lear, don't tempt me. I'll go there and start a dance flash mob just to liven things up. But seriously, the contrast is stark. Liechtenstein, nestled in the Alps, practically defines serene governance. They got a prince, a parliament, and everything seems to run with Swiss precision. But without the actual Swiss. There's a level of trust and consensus that's just enviable. You probably don't even need to lock your doors there.
Don't lock your doors. Sounds like a setup for Team the Great Liechtensteiner mystery. But honestly, while Lebanon's social fabric is this incredibly rich, diverse tapestry woven with so many different communities, languages, and histories, it also means you have these inherent tensions that flare up. Languages, not to diminish their resilience, but it's a constant balancing act.
Right. It's the difference between a symphony orchestra where everyone knows their part perfectly and a really enthusiastic jazz band where everyone's soloing at once. Life can be beautiful, but one definitely has more unexpected notes. Oh, when you're an expat, I imagine living in Lebanon means learning to adapt to those rapid changes, maybe even having a bit of an anything can happen attitude. Whoa, whereas in Liechtenstein, you're probably just trying to remember to pay your taxes on time because everything else is so predictable.
Anything can happen attitude is right. I hear they have power cuts that could turn any evening into a romantic candlelit dinner whether you planned it or not. Meanwhile, in Liechtenstein, I bet the biggest social harmony issue is debating whether to have fondue or raclette for dinner. For anyone considering a move, understanding these dynamics is crucial. Oh, do you prefer predictable quiet, or do you thrive on constant stimulation and challenges?
Character building challenges as long as they come with good food. Ooh, but you're right, Leo. This isn't just about headlines, it's about daily life. The strength of community in Lebanon is phenomenal. People really rely on each other. Form strong bonds. Well, that's a social harmony born out of necessity and the shared spirit. In Liechtenstein, it's more about meticulous planning and a very high standard of living. It's a completely different flavor of peace.
Yeah, Lebanon's social resilience is something many could learn from. They've gone through so much, and yet they persevere. They perhaps mixed with a human spirit, perhaps mixed with a fair bit of dark humor to cope. Liechtenstein, on the other hand, just quietly goes about its business, ensuring everyone's banking is in order. Well, two extremes, both with their own forms of harmony. For more insights into which peaceful paradise, or perhaps lively challenge, suits you best.
So, whether you want to live in a place where every day is an adventure, or somewhere so calm you might forget what an unexpected event feels like, both have their charm. Oh, it really depends on your personal flavor of harmony, doesn't it? Well, since we were just talking about making life better and more cheerful, let's look at a topic that often dictates just how cheerful you can actually be: economic conditions and the cost of living. We're diving into Lebanon and Liechtenstein today. And let me tell you, it's quite the financial journey from one to the other. Ooh.
Mira, you're absolutely right. It's like going from a charming, bustling, but occasionally wobbly roller coaster in Lebanon to a meticulously engineered luxury space shuttle in Liechtenstein. One promises adventure, the other promises a very, very expensive landing.
You know, for Lebanon, it's important to understand the resilience of the people, especially when we talk about their economy. Despite some significant challenges, like currency fluctuations that can make your head's daily life somehow goes on. Wow, I've heard stories of people adapting, getting creative with informal markets, and just making things work. It's truly inspiring. Oh.
Inspiring, yes. And financially, a bit of a tightrope walk, I'd say. Imagine earning in one currency and watching its value do a sudden belly flop. Ouch. For expats, if you're earning outside the country, a place like Beirut might seem more affordable on paper, but for locals, the cost of essentials, everything from fuel to a decent coffee, has just skyrocketed. It's an economy that keeps you on your toes, whether you want to dance or not.
But speaking of cost, Leo, Liechtenstein is a whole different ballgame, isn't it? It's where the phrase money talks isn't just an idiom, it's practically the national anthem.
Wow. Diamond-encrusted letterhouse, and I like that, Mira. I'll add it to my stand-up routine. Aha! Seriously though, Liechtenstein. It's almost absurdly prosperous. Think financial services, high-tech manufacturing, and a lot of very happy, very wealthy people. The GDP per capita there is so high, it probably has its own zip code. You want to live there? Great. Just make sure your bank account has enough zeros to match the mountain peaks.
If you're looking for a job market, Lebanon can be a bit of a maze. There are opportunities, especially in sectors like tourism or some tech niches. But it can be unstable. It requires a certain kind of adventurous spirit, or perhaps a very good local connection, if you're moving there for work. Oh, I'm certain that our listeners living in Lebanon would agree with me. It's not for the faint of heart. But it builds character. It builds character.
Meanwhile, in Liechtenstein, the job market is incredibly competitive. It's small, highly specialized, and unless you're a financial wizard or an expert in precision engineering, you might find yourself wondering if they even have a need for a professional sarcasm consultant. Ouch! Salaries are high, of course, but so is the cost of, well, everything. A simple apartment could set you back more than a small island. Don't expect to snap up a villa for €1 there either.
It's fascinating, isn't it? One country, Lebanon, shows incredible resilience and community spirit in the face of economic hardship, which is really something to admire. Wow. You might find your daily budget stretches in unexpected ways, but you'll also find warmth and resourcefulness.
And the other, Liechtenstein, offers pristine perfection and stability, but at a price tag that could make even me, a humble comedian, momentarily speechless. Oops, it's like comparing a charming, slightly chaotic street bazaar to a perfectly polished exclusive boutique. Both have their allure, but your wallet will tell a very different story in each. It really makes you think about what value truly means, doesn't it?
Speaking of living, let's talk about where you actually live in these places. Accommodation options and quality. Lebanon, first up, is like a surprise box, isn't it?
Oh, a surprise box where sometimes you open it and there's a fancy diamond, and other times it's a generator bill. I've heard Beirut has some truly stunning apartments, but you practically need a second mortgage just to keep the lights on sometimes.
Well, that's just part of the charm, Leo. It's an adventure. Oh, you get these gorgeous traditional stone houses tucked away in the mountains, then sleek, modern high-rise right by the coast. It's not one size fits all, is it? You find everything from super luxury to something more cozy and lived in.
Cozy and lived in or charming with, let's say, character because the plumbing hasn't been updated since the Ottoman Empire. And don't forget the water rationing experience. I'm certain that our listeners living in Lebanon would agree with me. It's a masterclass in resourcefulness.
Wow, you're making it sound like a survival camp. Oops, but seriously, the quality really does vary. You can find absolutely pristine places with all the mod cons. But then yes, older buildings might test your patience a little with things like intermittent power. It's about what you prioritize. Do you want history and a community feel? Or do you want consistent electricity?
Consistent electricity wins every time, Mira. I'm a simple man. Now, compare that to Liechtenstein. Whoa. It's like going from a sprawling, vibrant, slightly chaotic market to a meticulously curated art gallery where everything costs a fortune and there are only 5 pieces.
That's brilliant. Oh, but you're right. Liechtenstein is on a whole other level. It's tiny, pristine, and everything is top-notch. You're mostly looking at modern apartments, or if you hit the jackpot, a beautiful chalet nestled in the Alps. Everything is built to incredibly high standards. Wow, it's almost too perfect, wouldn't you say?
Too perfect? Mira, for my budget. It's a fantasy. You're lucky to even see a rental listing before it's snapped up by someone who probably owns a private jet. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Do you think a small, perfect, ridiculously expensive place is better than a varied, potentially quirky, but more alive housing market?
Oh, that's a great question, Leo. For Liechtenstein, the quality is undeniably excellent, well-insulated, modern amenities, impeccable infrastructure. But the price tag, that's the real hurdle. People often commute from Austria or Switzerland because finding something affordable, or anything at all, is a massive challenge. It's like trying to find a parking spot in downtown Manhattan on a Saturday night.
And then paying triple for it. Ouch. So, on one hand, Lebanon offers variety, character, and a bit of a live on the edge feel with its infrastructure quirks. On the other, Liechtenstein offers perfection, stability, and the feeling that you've won the lottery just to live there. If you're a digital nomad looking for reliable internet and the quiet life, jet off. I could help you find that perfect, albeit tiny place. Just be ready to sell a kidney.
Or a very valuable antique. Oh, but it's true. Both have their unique housing landscapes. Lebanon gives you a diverse experience from bustling city apartments to serene mountain escapes, each with its own quirks. While Liechtenstein promises unparalleled quality and peace, if you can even get your foot in the door. Wow. So, for our listeners on YouTube, let us know in the comments which housing adventure would you rather sign up for. The unpredictable perfection of Liechtenstein.
My money's on the charming chaos of Lebanon. At least then I'd have plenty of material for my stand-up about dealing with power cuts and water tanks. Liechtenstein. I'd probably just stand in awe, too intimidated to even crack a joke. But hey, both offer unique roof over your head, and sometimes that's all that matters. Now, let's move on to 8. I think I heard my coffee machine calling. Oops.
All right, Leo. We've just talked about the general vibes of our chosen countries, but now let's dive into something a bit more bureaucratic. Our next topic is ease of visa, immigration, and official procedures. Wow. And when we say ease, I'm certain our listeners are already leaning in with curiosity.
Mira, ease and bureaucracy in the same sentence usually make me reach for my emergency coffee. It's like trying to find a unicorn at a DMV office. So we're pitting Lebanon's process against Liechtenstein's. I'm already picturing mountains of paperwork versus perhaps a single, highly exclusive golden ticket.
Well, you're not wrong about the paperwork, my friend. Oh, let's start with Lebanon. For many nationalities, securing a visa to Lebanon can be relatively straightforward for tourists, sometimes even visa on arrival. But if you're thinking long-term, like moving, working, or planting roots, that's where the labyrinth begins.
A labyrinth, you say? Oh, is it the kind where you leave a trail of breadcrumbs and find yourself back at the application from you started with? I've heard stories about navigating official procedures there, and it sounds less like a clear pathway and more like an epic quest with multiple boss levels. Well, for anyone planning a move, I always suggest checking out resources like Jet Off AI for updated info. They can probably make sense of the riddles.
Exactly. It can be a real adventure, especially with the fluctuating political landscape, which can sometimes mean rules change. Getting a work permit usually involves an employer sponsorship, and patience runs out if my coffee isn't ready in 2 minutes. Imagine paperwork that takes weeks. You might need an interpreter for official documents, as Arabic is the main language, though French is also quite common.
Ah, the interpreter. Oh, the interpreter? Oh, that's when you know you're deep in the bureaucratic trenches. Speaking of languages, Liechtenstein, on the other hand, operates predominantly in German. And if you think Lebanon's labyrinth is tricky, Liechtenstein is more like a highly exclusive, almost invisible VIP club. Wow! You don't just move to Liechtenstein. You apply to get a chance to maybe, possibly, be considered for one of the very few residency permits they issue each year. It's like winning the lottery, but instead of cash, you get a tier.
Whoa. Seriously, just a few permits. Ouch. That sounds less like immigration and more like a secret society initiation. I'm certain our listeners, aspiring digital nomads, are probably reevaluating their dreams right now. How do you even start that process? Do you send a carrier pigeon with your resume?
A carrier pigeon might actually have a better chance. No, really. It's incredibly difficult. As part of the Schengen area, certain visas allow short-term stays, but permanent residency is another beast entirely. It's often tied to very specific employment, significant financial investment, or family ties to existing residents. I mean, I once filled out a form for a library card that was more complicated than I expected, but Liechtenstein takes the cake.
Polite exclusivity. Ah. Oh, Leo. You always find the perfect phrase. Ah. So, while Lebanon might be a challenge of endurance and navigation, Liechtenstein is more a challenge of pure, unadulterated access. Well, it's like the difference between running a marathon through a maze versus trying to get into an elite party, where the guest list has 3 names on it.
Exactly. And those 3 names are probably Prince Hansen to very wealthy hedge fund managers. Oh, for our YouTube listeners, if you've ever managed to get a residency permit in Liechtenstein, please tell us your secrets in the comments. Wow, we're all ears. I imagine it involves being a direct descendant of royalty or having invented a perpetual motion machine. Or maybe both.
Or maybe they just like Jojo. Leo. You never know. So, in terms of practical tips, for Lebanon, it's about preparation, persistence, and perhaps a good local contact. For Liechtenstein, it's... well, let's just say, have a backup plan, a very, very robust financial portfolio, and maybe a small miracle on your side. Ooh, it's truly fascinating how the countries can be so different in their approaches.
It really is. One is a complex mosaic, the other a perfectly polished, almost unattainable gem. It makes you appreciate the simpler visa processes, doesn't it? Even a long queue suddenly seems charming compared to being told, sorry, the country is full. And on that note, remember to check out Jet Off AI for all your travel and immigration needs. They truly make the world a little less baffling.
They certainly do. And to all our listeners, what are your craziest visa stories? Let us know in the comments on YouTube. We'd love to hear them. Oh, thought. The user wants a podcast, script comparing healthcare in Lebanon and Liechtenstein. I need to adhere to the following strict guidelines. Concept compare to given countries Lebanon and Liechtenstein in a friendly, conversational, and comparative format. Tone and style warm, fun, witty, teasing, occasionally informative. New and original jokes, anecdotes, mini-stories. No repetition from examples. Dialogue structure to hosts Mira and Leo. Casual conversation, poking fun, no repeated lines, themes. INPO. TA, NT characters, no special characters, icons, symbols, emoji, IS, corrupted letters. Language American English. Sprinkle foreign words if desired, but main language is AE. Length similar to example podcast, between 250 and 1,000 words for this section. Additional notes and OT refer to older episodes. DO and OT mention same pair from example. All jokes dialogue must be new and original. Start new criterion with phrases like let's move on to this topic. NOT today's topic. NOT today's topic. Refer to YouTube free for times and Jet Off AI in specialized prompt criteria. Formatting replace some dashes with normal dashes, special quotes. With no, ram single double quotes, ellipses with 3 normal dots. Replace normal dashes with single quotation mark. Emotion tags use hahaha. Whoa. Oops. Ouch. Place at natural breakpoints, typically end of sentence or thought. No square brackets. Strict dialogue guidelines, no extra explanations, commentary attend. Dialogue ends naturally. No parenthetical expressions for emotions, use tags only. Mandatory emotion tag usage ONL, use tags for laughter, surprise, joy, etc. No laughs. giggles. Spontaneous flow, immediate reactions, interruptions, unexpected remarks. Implementation, method, gestures, reactions like oh, I was just about to ask that. Or wait, I want to add something there. Smooth transition, small reference to previous subject or question to connect. Phrases like speaking of this. Or well, since we mentioned that, what about this? Humor and information balance, add humor, teasing without undermining info. Jokes align with personalities, not overdoing it. Audience connection, address listeners directly, do you guys agree? Mention you to jet off AI naturally. Character personalities, strictly follow Leo's and Mira's detailed personality descriptions. Constraint checklist, confidence score. Concept, compare Lebanon and Liechtenstein. Yes. Tone and style, warm, fun, witty, teasing, informative. Yes. Original jokes? Yes. No repetition? Yes. Dialogue structure, Mira and Leo, casual, poke fun? Yes. IMPOTA, NT characters, no special characters, symbols, emojis. Yes. Language, American English, sprinkle foreign words. Yes. Length 251,000 words. Yes. We'll aim for this. Additional notes, no older episode refs. Yes. Original content? Yes. Transition phrases? Yes. No today's topic? Yes. YouTube jet off AI refs? Yes. Formatting dashes and quotes? Yes. Normal dash to single quote? Yes. Emotion tags use specific tags only? Yes. No brackets? Yes. Strict dialogue, no summaries, no parenthetical s? Yes. Spontaneous flow, immediate reactions, interruptions? Yes. Implementation, method, gestures, reactions in dialogue? Yes. Smooth topic transitions refer to previous topic question? Yes. Balancing humor, information, humor without undermining info? Yes. Jokes align with personalities? Yes. Warm audience connection, address listeners directly, mention platforms? Yes. Starter, no greetings, farewells, no new day intro? Yes. Alternating turns, strict Mira, then Leo sequence? Yes. Personality adherence, yes. Crucial for Leo and Mira. Specific countries, topic Lebanon and Liechtenstein, access to and quality of health services? Yes. Confidence score 5/5. Mental sandbox time. Initial thought for structure, Mira introduces Lebanon, Leo Liechtenstein, then they compare aspects. Mira's personality, never-ending joke machine, positive energy, adventurous, open, compassionate, enthusiastic, optimistic. Will lean into her cheerfulness and warmth, using her specific emotion tags. She'll be empathetic towards Lebanon's challenges, but still find humor. Leo's personality, sharp, eye traveler, stand-up master, coffee addict, sarcastic, observational, dry humor. He'll offer sharp observations, perhaps a touch more critical but always with humor, and poke fun at Mira. He'll appreciate efficiency and quality. Healthcare in Lebanon known for private sector, good quality but high cost, challenges with public system, medical tourism in the past, recent economic crisis impact. Healthcare in Liechtenstein, high quality, universal access. Private insurance model, very small country. Humor ideas. Mira might joke about needing a health passport to navigate different systems. Leo might sarcastically suggest one country's system is so exclusive. You need an appointment just to think about being sick there. Teasing about Mira's clumsiness leading to healthcare needs. Jokes about the sheer size difference Liechtenstein's clinics might be someone's backyard shed sarcastically. Reference to Jet Fate. I for medical travel research. Mention YouTube comments for listener experiences. Transitioning, speaking of making an appointment, let's talk about the actual access to these services. Word count management, ensure enough detail for both countries without going over. Probably 2 rounds of discussion for each country, then a comparative summary. Strict Mira-Leo alternation, this is crucial. I need to be careful to ensure Mira speaks first, then Leo, and so on, without breaking the pattern. No greetings, farewells, the script should start directly with Mira's line related to the topic. Okay, I have a good grasp of the requirements. I'll start with Mira's perspective on Lebanon's healthcare, then Leo's on Liechtenstein, and then they'll compare. Drafting first pass focus on content and character voice. Well, since we were just talking about making life easier for expats, let's look at another super important thing. How healthy are we going to be in these places? I'm thinking about access to and quality of health services, starting with Lebanon. You know, it's a country that's seen a lot, and their healthcare system is really interesting. They have some fantastic private hospitals, but you definitely need good insurance or a big wallet. Oh,
I big wallet. Huh? So? Not exactly for the budget backpacker who's just eaten something questionable off a street cart, I guess. Speaking of pristine, let's pivot to Liechtenstein. It's so tiny. I imagine their national healthcare system is just one very well-funded doctor who knows everyone by name. Wow. You probably walk into the clinic, and they're like, "Ah, Herr Schmidt, still that chronic case of overthinking, I see."
I can totally Giglio, like a personal healthcare concierge for the entire nation. But seriously, in Lebanon, while the private sector is top-notch, the public health system has had its struggles, especially with recent economic challenges. It means access can be really uneven. It's almost like a tale of two cities, or rather, two hospitals in the same city. Ouch. I'm actually curious what our listeners living in Lebanon think about this. Do you agree with me?
See, Mira, that's where Liechtenstein probably has an unfair advantage. It's so small, their public system probably is their private system, if you catch my drift. You've got mandatory health insurance, and it covers pretty much everything. It's less about finding a good doctor and more about finding a good parking spot. Hey, I mean, when your entire country is smaller than some cities' downtown areas, maybe healthcare just naturally becomes efficient.
Efficiency is definitely a luxury in many places. In Lebanon, getting an appointment, especially in public hospitals, can be a real marathon. You're talking about long wait times, and sometimes, even when you get in, finding all the necessary medications can be another challenge. It's not always easy, especially if you're not fluent in Arabic or if you don't have local connections. Oops.
True. Language barriers can turn a minor sniffle into an epic quest. Wow. I'm sure our Jet-Off AI users, when planning their medical travel, factor in language support. In Liechtenstein, I'd wager they have English-speaking doctors just because they probably vacation in London. But really, their focus is on high-quality, comprehensive care with strong links to Swiss and Austrian hospitals for specialized treatments. It's like having a healthcare network on speed dial. Ooh.
Oh, that's a clever way to put it. Healthcare network on speed dial. I like that. For Lebanon, despite the difficulties, many doctors are highly trained, often educated abroad, and they do provide excellent care, particularly in specific medical fields. They even used to have a strong medical tourism industry. It's just a matter of navigating the system, which for expats can be a bit of a very crowded souk. It's like trying to find a specific spice in a very crowded souk.
A crowded souk of health, I like that image.
That feeling of stepping off a plane into a new place and just trying to figure out if you'll need a personal helicopter or a magic carpet to get anywhere. It's truly an adventure in itself, isn't it?
Dude, a magic carpet would simplify my life so much. I could skip all those endless airport security lines. But speaking of actual movement, let's shift gears and look at transportation infrastructure and convenience in Lebanon and Liechtenstein. Two countries, a world apart in size and how you get around.
Oh, what a contrast. Lebanon, a place bursting with life and energy, but getting from A to B can sometimes feel like a high-stakes puzzle. Leo, have you ever navigated Beirut traffic? It's like a symphony of car horns where everyone's playing their own solo. Haha, for our listeners out there, imagine rush hour, but with extra flair. Public transportation as we know it, with regular buses and trains, is pretty limited outside informal options.
Informal options, that's a polite way of saying organized chaos on wheels, isn't it? I've heard about the Service CE system there, where you just hop into a shared taxi and hope it's going vaguely in your direction. It sounds like an extreme sport. My observational skills tell me you need serious improvisation skills just to commute. I bet our listeners in Lebanon are nodding furiously right now about that traffic.
You totally hit it, Leo. It's an art form, really. You learn to read the taxi driver's mind and guess if they're heading toward your destination just from their facial expression. Ooh. But on the flip side, people are incredibly resourceful. You always find a way. For quick trips, ride-charging apps are increasingly popular, which helps, but the roads themselves can be a bit of an adventure. Sometimes you hit a patch that feels like a lunar landscape.
Lunar landscape. My poor coffee would be sloshing everywhere. Now, if you want the exact opposite experience, let's talk about Liechtenstein. This tiny nation is so small, you could practically walk across it while finishing a short podcast episode. What's the biggest traffic jam you think they've ever had? Probably the sheep trying to cross the road at the same time.
Wow, Leo, you're hilarious. My kind of traffic jam, actually. Liechtenstein's transportation is like a perfectly choreographed ballet compared to Lebanon's improv dance party. Their roads are pristine, and while they don't have massive metro systems, their bus network is incredibly efficient. It connects all the little towns beautifully. You can hop on a bus, gaze at the stunning alpine scenery, and barely feel a bump. It's almost unnervingly smooth.
Unnervingly smooth. Unnervingly smooth, I suppose you wouldn't get much stand-up material from a bus ride where everything runs perfectly on time and nobody's yelling. What's the joke there? I caught the 9:15, huh? Bus. And it arrived at 9:17. Wild stuff. It sounds like the kind of place where you could set your watch by the bus schedule, which, for a scatterbrained guy like me, is probably a good thing. Though it might make me too punctual. Ouch.
Don't worry, Leo. You'd find a way to add your unique chaotic sparkle, even to Liechtenstein's precision. Maybe you try to get the bus driver to break out into a spontaneous dance party. For our audience, if you're looking for seamless, stress-free travel within a country, Liechtenstein's bus system and pristine roads are truly top-notch. They even integrate with the Swiss industry and public transport, making cross-border day trips incredibly easy.
Yeah, I guess it's nice to have a public transport system that actually makes sense. My dream is to have a bus where the driver gives a sarcastic running commentary. But seriously, the convenience of connecting to larger European networks is a huge plus for Liechtenstein. It's like a tiny, perfectly engineered gear in a much larger machine. Aha! You don't get that much in Lebanon, where independent travel often means navigating complex, localized systems.
Exactly. So, while Lebanon requires a certain adventurous spirit and a good sense of humor to navigate its roads, Liechtenstein offers a calm, efficient journey through breathtaking landscapes. Both unique, both memorable, but for very different reasons, wow. And for anyone planning their next trip, Whether it's a high-energy urban dash or a peaceful mountain transit, remember to check out just or all your logistics. It's designed to take some of the guesswork out of the adventure.
Indeed. No matter where you're headed, figuring out the local transportation is half the battle. If you've got a better transit hack for either of these countries, or any hilarious travel mishaps, drop a comment below on YouTube. We love hearing your stories, especially the absurd ones, ooh. And while you're there, don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button to keep our comedic chaos coming your way.
You know, Leo, every time we talk about a new country, my brain immediately shifts to how many languages I'd have to juggle just to order a coffee. This topic is absolutely my favorite, especially when it comes to language barrier and ease of communication. Ooh, my last attempt at ordering a pretzel in Germany almost resulted in me getting a shoe.
Mira, I'm sure the shoe would have been more comfortable than some of the things you've accidentally ordered. But speaking of linguistic gymnastics, let's unpack Lebanon first. It's truly a fascinating place because you'll hear Arabic, French, and English all swirling around like a perfectly blended smoothie. Wow. It's like your brain has to constantly decide which language hat to wear. If you're a tourist in Beirut, English gets you pretty far. But if you want to say, argue up the price of a carpet in the old zoo.
Oh, absolutely. I always say, the more languages, the more fun. Oh, it's like everyone's mind is a vibrant marketplace, constantly swapping between conversations. I'm certain that our listeners living in Lebanon would agree with me. You hear people code switching mid-sentence, almost without thinking. It's amazing. It makes communication feel so fluid, even if you only know one of the main languages, because someone else will usually bridge the gap for you with a smile.
A smile and maybe a dramatic hand gesture, right? Now, shifting from that lively linguistic dance party, let's pop over to Liechtenstein. Whoa there. The language landscape is, shall we say, a bit more streamlined. German is the official language, and if you're not fluent, well, good luck debating the finer points of their excellent cheese. Ouch. While you might find English speakers in tourist spots or bigger businesses, especially with their banking sector, it's not like strolling through Beirut.
Well, I think that's just part of the charm. Ooh, imagine trying to learn a new dialect. I bet it sounds like a cozy secret code. You might not be able to join every conversation right away, but the effort alone, even just saying Gruzi, their local greeting, could probably get you a warmer welcome. I'm actually curious about what our listeners who've tried to learn German or the dialect in Liechtenstein think about this.
I imagine most of them are still trying to pronounce Fuyu or WEHR correctly. In all seriousness, for expats, the contrast is quite stark. In Lebanon, you've got this beautiful mosaic where you can rely on different languages, at least initially. But in Liechtenstein, if you're planning to stay longer than a long weekend, German isn't just a suggestion, it's pretty much a requirement. It's like the country is telling you, learn our language, or you'll miss out on some truly fascinating banking jargon.
It's all about embracing the journey, right? Oh, whether it's picking up a few Lebanese Arabic phrases to charm a shopkeeper or mastering your German pronunciation to understand a local festival, it opens up a whole new world. Don't forget, if you're enjoying our banter and find these insights helpful, hit that like button and subscribe on YouTube. Your support helps us keep exploring these amazing places, one chuckle at a time.
Indeed. And for those planning a deeper dive, maybe checking out residency or work permits in these countries, understanding the language requirements is crucial. You might find a whole lot more practical advice over at Jet Off A for navigating those kinds of specific details. Because let's face it, while a smile can get you a long way, it won't fill out a visa application form.
You know, Leo, when we talk about cultural diversity and tolerance, some places just explode with it. Like a glitter bomb at a family reunion. In talking about Lebanon, well, it's like A whole world crammed into one small country. You've got, what, 18 officially recognized religious sects. It's not just Christian and Muslim, it's all these different flavors of each. It's a mosaic, a vibrant tapestry.
A tapestry, Mira, that sometimes feels like it's held together with a single, very thin thread. I mean, you've got people celebrating Christmas, then Eid, then Easter, sometimes all within a few weeks. It's a logistical nightmare for a stand-up comedian trying to plan holiday shows. Oh, but on a serious note, the diversity there is profound. Each community has its own traditions, its own way of doing things. It's both incredibly complex. It's like living in a permanent improv.
Well, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The adaptability. I mean, imagine the dinner tables, you've got people from different backgrounds. Maybe one's telling a story about the mountain, another about the sea, and somehow they're all sharing the same plate of meze. It's a testament to how people can truly live side by side. I'm certain that our listeners living in Lebanon would agree with me. If you've seen this firsthand, share your stories in the comments on YouTube.
Yes, side by side, until someone asks who makes the best tabbouleh, and then it's World War II. But moving from that vibrant, sometimes chaotic mix, let's talk about a place where diversity might look a little different. Whoa, I'm talking about Liechtenstein. Mira, have you ever been to a country so small you could probably jog across it before your coffee gets cold?
Oh, Leo, you always make it sound like a backyard garden gnome convention. Wait, I want to add something there. Liechtenstein has a surprisingly high percentage of foreign residents. Around a third of the population isn't local. That's a massive number for such a small, traditional place. It's not sectarian diversity like Lebanon, but it's still people from all over Europe. Even some from Turkey and other distant lands, all converging in this Alpine principality.
Indeed. It's a different kind of tolerance. In Lebanon, it's often about managing historical, sometimes volatile differences. In Liechtenstein, it's about integrating people who move there for work, often bringing a much more quiet or polite form of diversity. It's like they have a strict no-drama policy for cultural integration. I bet if you throw a big party in Liechtenstein, someone from Vals is going to be politely reminding someone from Tries-Enberg about the noise ordinance.
You know, that's actually fascinating. It highlights that tolerance isn't just one size fits all. For Lebanon, it's about holding space for deeply ingrained, often historic, differences. For Liechtenstein, it's about making space for newcomers in a very established society. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this quiet versus loud diversity.
Well, I prefer a bento box if it's full of different kinds of hummus and some excellent Lebanese coffee. Speaking of that, it reminds me of the importance of finding common ground. In Lebanon, despite all the different factions, there's often a shared love for the food, the music, maybe even a shared sense of humor about their own chaos. It's those universal human elements that bridge the gaps. Even if they can't agree on politics, they can probably agree on which baker makes the best manouchi.
And that's what makes both countries special in their own ways. Lebanon's wild, energetic mix of cultures is truly captivating. You see so many different expressions of faith and tradition side by side, even if it's not always perfectly smooth. Whoa. And Liechtenstein, in its own quiet, efficient way, shows how a traditional society can still be open to the world and welcome new people. Both are really great examples of how humanity finds a way to coexist, even if Leo thinks it's all just material for his next stand-up routine.
My job is to observe the absurdities, Mira, and humanity has ability to coexist despite itself is peak absurdity. But hey, if you're enjoying this conversation, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. We'll be diving into more cultural contrasts soon, and you don't want to miss our next round of witty observations.
You know, thinking about countries and their vibes, it always makes me wonder about education. I mean, my own school days often felt like a series of unexpected comedy sketches, especially when I tried to learn new languages. It's almost like my brain decided, nope, we're sticking to humor only. Oh. But seriously, let's look at educational opportunities and language schools in Lebanon and Liechtenstein. Talk about a contrast, right?
Contrast is an understatement. Oh, it's like comparing a bustling souk to a very exclusive, well-manicured garden party. When you talk about educational opportunities, especially language acquisition, Lebanon is practically a crash course in multilinguals. You're trying to figure out if your Arabic, French, or English is more broken that day.
Exactly. In Lebanon, it's not unusual to hear people seamlessly switch between Arabic, French, almost like linguistic gymnastics routine. Wow. And their universities, like the American University of Beirut, are really well regarded. I'm certain that our listeners who have studied there would agree. It's a place where you're not just learning a subject, you're soaking up multiple languages just by living there.
Meanwhile, over in Liechtenstein, you're more likely to hear German with a polite nod to English for the international finance crowd. The University of Liechtenstein is excellent, but it's specialized. It's not exactly a massive campus where thousands of students are wandering around looking for their next lecture hall. It's more like a very focused, highly efficient experience. I imagine the student-to-teacher ratio is probably so good, it's almost like everyone gets a personal tutor.
Are you saying it's so small you could accidentally walk through the entire campus while checking your phone? Oops! But that actually sounds amazing in its own way. While Lebanon offers this vibrant, diverse language environment, almost organically, Liechtenstein's focused approach means you're really diving deep into specific fields. It's like one is a broad ocean of knowledge, and the other is a very deep, precise will. Both have their merits, right?
Absolutely. And if you're looking for practical, vocational training, Liechtenstein has a strong emphasis on that, tying into their highly skilled workforce. It's not just about theoretical knowledge, it's about what you can do with it. For example, while some might focus on high-stakes debates in Lebanon, in Liechtenstein, they're probably discussing the latest in sustainable architecture.
Speaking of what you can do with it, I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. If you had the choice, would you prefer to learn in a bustling, multilingual hub like Lebanon, where every street corner is a language lesson, or in a more focused, specialized environment like Liechtenstein? Let us know in the comments on YouTube. We love hearing your thoughts. I once tried to learn Arabic from a Lebanese friend, and my tongue just tied itself into knots.
I can imagine. My attempts at any language usually end with me asking for coffee and then accidentally ordering 3 goats. Oops. So while Lebanon's educational system often deals with the challenges of a larger, more complex society-wide impact, Liechtenstein offers this very stable, high-quality, almost private school-like experience for its citizens. It's about quality over quantity, perhaps. It really depends on what kind of learning environment you're looking for, or how many actual students you want in environment you're looking for.
Yeah, it's about finding your fit. Whether you want to master a specific skill in a serene setting or immerse yourself in a vibrant culture that forces you to learn multiple languages just to order street food. But I'd love to see someone try to teach me finance and Arabic in a Liechtenstein classroom.
Or try to get a banking job in Beirut with only rudimentary German. That's a sketch waiting to happen. In the end, it boils down to whether you prefer a wide, diverse, and sometimes chaotic learning adventure or a highly structured, precise educational pathway. Both promise a journey, just very different ones. If you like our comparisons and want to explore more about living or studying abroad, remember to like this video on YouTube and check out Jetafe I for deeper insights.
Don't forget to click that subscribe button too. It really helps us bring you more of these wild comparisons. Oh, alright, so after all that talk about finding your footing, literally in new places, let's shift gears and look at something that really shapes where we plant those feet: climate and seasonal conditions. I swear, sometimes I feel like I need a weather oracle just to pack my suitcase for a single trip. Like, do I bring my parka or my flip-flops? The struggle is real, folks.
Oh, Mira, you and your packing dilemmas. I just bring a black t-shirt and assume I'm ready for anything. Simple. But you're right, climate's huge. And when we talk about Lebanon, you're looking at a place that pulls off a really impressive trick.
Wow, yes, Lebanon is truly remarkable. Imagine this: you could be hitting the ski slopes in the morning in the gorgeous mountains, and then by the afternoon, you're lounging by the Mediterranean Sea. How wild is that? Ooh. It's like the country can't decide if it wants to be Switzerland or Greece, so it just decides to be both.
Exactly. And I bet you, Mira, you try to do both in one day, only to end up with mismatched tan lines and frostbite on your toes. But seriously, the coastal areas in Lebanon have these lovely, mild, wet winters and scorching, humid summers. Then you go up into the Mount Lebanon range, and suddenly it's a winter wonderland with heavy snowfall. It's truly a country of contrasts.
Aha! It's like a meteorological plot twist in every season. But let's hop, skip, and jump over to our other country, Liechtenstein. Tiny country, tiny climate, right? My guess is, it's pretty much a snowy postcard all year round.
Oops. Not quite all year round, Mira, though I can see why you'd think that. Liechtenstein, nestled in the Alps, definitely has that classic alpine climate. That means cold, snowy winters are absolutely on the menu. But their summers are actually quite mild and pleasant, perfect for hiking without melting into a puddle like I usually do. I'm certain our listeners who've explored its trails would agree.
Wow. So no accidental ice skating into Germany if you miss a turn then? That's good to know. The lack of a coastline must make for some interesting local adaptations, though. I mean, no beach volleyball. What do they even do? Perhaps they just make really long snowmen.
They probably build snow castles, Mira. And then you'd be trying to convince them to have a snowball fight with your imaginary Bollywood dance moves. But you nailed it. Life in Liechtenstein is heavily influenced by the mountains. Winter sports are massive skiing, snowboarding, you name it. And in summer, it's all about mountain biking, hiking, and enjoying that crisp air. It really shapes the local culture around outdoor activities, rather than, say, perfecting your tan.
Speaking of extremes, does Lebanon ever get, too hot or too cold? I'm picturing a whole new level of I can't even.
Ouch. On the coast, summer heat waves can definitely make you want to stay in an air-conditioned bubble. I mean, we're talking temperatures that make your coffee turn cold just by looking at it. And in the mountains, those winters can bring serious snowstorms, sometimes cutting off roads. So adaptation is key. It's not always a picnic, even if you can ski and swim on the same day.
And Liechtenstein? Do they get, avalanche parties? Whoa, I'm actually curious about what our listeners who live in a truly snowy climate experience with extreme weather. Do you just build an igloo and wait it out?
Well, Mira, they certainly get significant snowfall. And yes, avalanches are a real consideration in the high Alps, which means serious safety protocols are always in place. But it's not like the whole country shuts down. People embrace it. They have the infrastructure for winter, and life carries on. They just trade beach bags for ski boots. It's less about parties and more about precision engineering, which might bore you, I know.
Oops! Never bored by precision, just by the lack of spontaneous starts breaks it implies. So if you're picturing your next adventure, whether you're dreaming of a day that starts with a morning ski and ends with a Mediterranean sunset, or you prefer a serene mountain escape with crisp air and cozy chalets, these climates really set the stage for completely different lifestyles. It really makes you think about what kind of weather personality you have, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And for anyone out there trying to figure out which climate suits their soul, whether it's the versatile Mediterranean vibe of Lebanon or the steadfast alpine beauty of Liechtenstein, you can find more details and planning tips on Jet-Off-A. It's a great spot to see how these environmental contexts actually shape your travel plans or even a potential move. And if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments which climate makes your heart sing. Oh, do you prefer melting in the sun? Oh,
Alright, so we're diving into food culture and nutritional alternatives, and I'm already envisioning a feast. We're talking about Lebanon and Liechtenstein today. For me, Lebanese food is like a flavor explosion. Every dish is a dance party in your mouth.
a dance party in your mouth. I can just picture it, Mira, with tiny little hummus and tabbouleh performing a synchronized routine. You know, I've always imagined Liechtenstein's cuisine to be, well, very precise. Like, you know exactly what you're getting, down to the last grain of salt. No surprises. No surprises.
Wow, no surprises. That sounds like a culinary spreadsheet, Leo. Where's the adventure? Speaking of adventure, Lebanese food practically invents it. Take mez, for example. It's not just a meal, it's an art form. You have your hummus, your baba ghanush, fat to us H, falafel. It's all incredibly fresh, bursting with herbs. And honestly, you don't even have to try to eat healthy. It just happens.
I imagine in Liechtenstein, adventure and food might mean adding an extra sprinkle of chives to your KS Nafla. But seriously, while Lebanon gives you that vibrant, communal dining experience, Liechtenstein's traditional dishes are all about hearty, comforting fare. Think cheese dumplings, cornmeal porridge, and plenty of sausages. It's designed to stick to your ribs when you're in the Alps, not to make you break into a spontaneous salsa.
Well, I'd probably be doing a spontaneous salsa after eating all that cheese. But you know, the beauty of Lebanese cuisine is how naturally vegetarian and even vegan-friendly it is. Many of their classic dishes are plant-based by default. It's like they've been ahead of the game for centuries. You could be vegan and still have a feast fit for a king. Or a queen.
I'm not sure if Liechtenstein has been ahead of any game in vegan cuisine, unless that game involves convincing a cow to produce almond milk. But it's true, in a place like Liechtenstein, with its strong Alpine and German-speaking influences, the traditional focus is often on meat and dairy. Finding diverse nutritional alternatives or widespread vegan options might require a bit more digging. I once tried to order a kale smoothie in a small Alpine village, and the look on the waiter's face, wow.
Ouch, that poor waiter's face. But that's where innovation comes in, right? Even if a country has traditional, meat-heavy roots, modern trends are pushing for more diverse options. Are we seeing any of that in the capital of Ost? Are there, dare I say, plant-based cheese dumplings on the horizon?
I'm not holding my breath for plant-based KIS Nafa. But yes, even in Liechtenstein, the culinary scene is slowly adapting. You might find a few places in Vaust offering more modern or international dishes, catering to visitors or residents with different dietary needs. It's less about ancient heritage and more about keeping up with global trends, I suppose. Very pragmatic. I suppose. Very pragmatic. It reminds me, if you're planning a trip to either of these fascinating countries to try their food.
Good call, Leo. Speaking of global trends, Lebanese street food is a trend unto itself. The shawarma, the falafel wraps, they're quick, affordable, and incredibly delicious. And even then, you can often customize them to be lighter or more veggie focused. It's that constant flow of people, that energy. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. What's your go-to street food in a new country? Tell us in the comments.
My go-to street food is anything that doesn't stare back at me. Oops, kidding. But Lebanese street food, I agree, is world-class. It's got that undeniable vibrancy. Liechtenstein, on the other hand, well, their street food probably involves a very tidy sausage stand that closes promptly at 5 p.m. It's all about efficiency, even when it comes to a quick buy.
Whoa, 5 p.m. That's when the party starts, Leo. But that's the difference, isn't it? One is a celebration of flavors, communal joy, and centuries of rich tradition that naturally lends itself to diverse palates. The other offers robust, hearty fare, rooted in now tentatively exploring the wider world of nutritional alternatives. It's like comparing a spontaneous block party to a very well-organized picnic.
And both have their charm, I suppose. One makes you want to dance, the other makes you want to take a very sensible nap.
Wow, when we talk about historical, cultural, and artistic values, Lebanon is like diving headfirst into an archaeological treasure chest. You've got Phoenician remnants, romances, it's a multi-launch cake of history. Can you imagine walking where Romans used to chill and then suddenly you're in a vibrant modern art gallery? It's wild. Oh.
Cho, more like march and conquer if history serves me right. And probably complain about the lack of decent coffee shops near those ancient ruins. Not that anything's changed now, I mean, Lebanon's history is so dense, you probably trip over a few forgotten empires just walking down the street. Ouch.
Oh, you're terrible. But that's the beauty of it. Speaking of history, just off I loves uncovering stories like this, and so do we. We're talking ancient civilizations here, people. Not just old buildings, but layers and layers of lives lived, each leaving a mark. And then you have Beirut, this phoenix city, always rising with a bursting modern art scene. Wow. You walk around, and there's a gallery on every corner, full of passion.
Passion. Or maybe just a lot of walls that need filling. Contrast that with Liechtenstein. Its history feels less like a chaotic, sprawling epic and more like a very neat, well-organized mini-museum that fits perfectly into a single room. Whoa! I imagine their national epic is about the Great Stamp Collection of '98.
Oh, but it's a very nice ring, Leo. Wow. The princely collections are surprisingly impressive for such a small place, focusing on quality over overwhelming quantity. And the Kunsthausmittel Liechtenstein is a gem of modern and contemporary art. It's not about grand scale. It's like a perfectly curated boutique compared to a sprawling department store.
Exquisite taste, or just fewer square meters to fill? I'm just picturing our critics there like, yes, this is the sculpture of the year. And it's also the only sculpture of the year. I'm genuinely curious. What do our YouTube viewers think about my crow-state art scenes? Do you prefer a sprawling historical narrative or a condensed, curated one? Leave us a comment.
You're incorrigible. But seriously, Leo, think about the cultural tapestry. Lebanon's blend of East and West, its music, its literature, the sheer vibrant energy. It's a place where every street corner tells a story. I'm certain our listeners who visited Beirut would agree with me. The resilience of the Lebanese people, Their spirit to rebuild and create beauty out of chaos is truly inspiring. Wow.
Inspiring, yes, and probably exhausting. I imagine their history books are less about dates and more about chapter to the rebuild. Chapter to the rebuild. Chapter 3 repeat. Whoa, very cyclical. Liechtenstein, on the other hand, probably has a chapter titled The Time Nothing Happened at All. Very zen. For more details on these countries, and maybe some travel tips for avoiding overly enthusiastic pigeons in ancient sites, you can always check out Jet Off AI.
Jet Off AI is all about smart travel, whether you're exploring ancient Phoenician ruins or a pristine Liechtenstein castle. It helps you unlock these amazing stories. And if you're enjoying this historical deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe on YouTube. We love seeing your support, and it helps us bring you more of these lively comparisons. We're talking about centuries of heritage here, people. It's a lot to process.
It is. And my coffee's almost gone, so that's a historical moment in itself. Oops. But seriously, the way both these nations preserve and present their past, from grand Roman temples to meticulously kept art collections, it really makes you think about what we value. It's like asking, do you prefer a chaotic masterpiece or a perfectly polished miniature? Both are art, just different scales.
You know, Leo, speaking of uncovering hidden gems, our next topic truly lets us explore places that are practically nature's own works of art. I'm talking about the pure, unadulterated natural beauties and landscapes of two countries that might surprise some of our listeners.
Oh, I'm ready for this one. I'm ready for this one. Especially after hearing about your legendary coffee chic entrance to the studio. Wow. It reminds me that sometimes the most beautiful things appear when you least expect them. And when we talk about unexpected beauty, Lebanon immediately springs to mind. Imagine a country where you can literally ski in the morning and then head to a beach on the Mediterranean in the afternoon.
You're absolutely right, Leo. It's truly a feast for the eyes. Oh, Lebanon's mountains, especially the Lebanon Mountains range, are just majestic. And let's not forget the ancient cedars of God, standing tall and proud for centuries. I mean, imagine the stories those trees could tell. It's not just pretty, it's practically ancient wisdom in tree form. I'm certain that our listeners living in Lebanon would agree with me.
Ancient wisdom, huh? Sounds like something I should try to channel before my next stand-up gig. But seriously, the Qa Valley, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, with its deep gorges and historic monasteries carved into the cliffs, it's just stunning. You look at it and think, how did anyone even build that? And then there are the giant grotto caves. Wow, it's like stepping into another world, complete with stalagmites that make you feel tiny.
You'd probably find a way to tell jokes about the rock formations. Speaking of tiny, let's pivot from Lebanon's grand, rugged beauty to a different kind of natural charm, Liechtenstein. It's a country so small, you might miss it if you blink, but its alpine landscapes are surprisingly breathtaking. While Lebanon has its dramatic coastlines and ancient cedars, Liechtenstein boasts the pristine beauty of the Alps, specifically the Relaxation mountain range. It's all about verdant meadows, crystal clear streams, and that crisp mountain air that just makes you feel alive.
Whoa, crystal clear streams and crisp mountain air? Sounds like a commercial for fancy bottled water, Mira. But yes, Liechtenstein's charm is definitely in its concentrated alpine beauty. It doesn't have a coastline, obviously, unless you count the Rhine River as a very long, very narrow beach. But the hiking trails are incredible, winding through forests and up to panoramic viewpoints. You feel like you're on top of the world, even though you're in one of the smallest countries on Earth.
And imagine you get to the top and then realize you can see the entire country. But seriously, for those who love mountain sports, Liechtenstein is a dream. You've got skiing in winter, and amazing trekking and mountain biking in summer. It's not about grand, sweeping vistas like Lebanon's vast stretches of land, but more about intimate, postcard, perfect scenes around every corner. It's like a finely crafted miniature, if you will.
A finely crafted miniature indeed. While Lebanon offers the dramatic contrast of snow-capped peaks meeting the sea, Liechtenstein is pure alpine bliss. Both incredibly beautiful, just different flavors of natural wonder. I can just picture myself trying to conquer one of those peaks in Liechtenstein, only to realize I'm more suited for a leisurely stroll in the Rhine Valley. Ouch. If you guys agree with us, or have your own favorite natural spots in these countries, please let us know in the comments.
Exactly. And whether you're dreaming of exploring ancient cedar forests or scaling an alpine peak, don't forget you can always find more details about travel experiences and planning on Jetofei. It's a great resource for adventurers of all kinds. Oh, because ultimately, Lear, both Lebanon and Liechtenstein prove that natural beauty comes in all shapes and sizes, each inspiring its own kind of armed adventure. So, we just talked about how every country has its own unique culinary quirks. But speaking of physical activity, what about burning off all those delicious calories? Today, we're diving into sports, activity, and adventure options for two fascinating places, Lebanon and Liechtenstein. Well, I'm so excited about this one, because I've always imagined myself ziplining through the mountains, or maybe even trying some snow sports.
Mira, ziplining? You'd probably get tangled in the wires and end up dangling like a festive holiday decoration. But hey, I'm all for burning calories, especially after our last food segment. You know, I once tried to out-eat a street vendor in Beirut and nearly lost a bet. Ouch. Anyway, let's talk about Lebanon first. For a country its size, it really packs a punch when it comes to adventure, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Lebanon is truly a gem for adventure lovers. Well, picture this: you can actually ski in the mountains in the morning and then head to the Mediterranean Sea for a swim in the afternoon. Oh, it's not just a cliche, it's a real thing. The Amzar Kafrdevian ski resort is pretty well known, and there's also the Cedars of God Forest for some amazing hiking. And for those who love water, the coast offers diving and windsurfing. It's like a multi-pros paradise.
Skiing and swimming on the same day. That sounds like a plot twist in a low-budget action movie. From snowy peaks to sandy beaches in one swift, slightly confused swoop. I bet the average Lebanese citizen is fitter than most of us just from that daily commute between Iranians. Do you think they pack skis and a snorkel in the same carry-on? I'm certain that our listeners living in Lebanon would agree with me.
You're so funny, Leo. Whoa, but you know, even if Liechtenstein is tiny oops, it still offers a surprising amount of outdoor activity. It's nestled right in mountain biking, and in winter, plenty of skiing and snowboarding. Oh, they have the Malbon ski area, which is small but charming. And since it's so compact, you don't need a day-long expedition just to find a good trail. It's sufficient adventure, if you will.
Efficient adventure. I like that, hee hee. So, instead of getting lost in a vast wilderness, you just accidentally wander into another country? That's the Liechtenstein adventure experience. I can see someone trying to find a challenging hike and suddenly being asked for their passport at a border crossing. But seriously, for a country that's basically the size of my living room's ambition. Wow.
Well, speaking of meticulous, I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Do you guys prefer sprawling wild adventures or something a bit more, shall we say, contained and picturesque like Liechtenstein offers? Let us know in the comments section on YouTube. Hey, don't forget to like this video while you're there.
Whitewater rafting in Lebanon, eh? Sounds like a good way to get soaked and potentially lose a shoe. Ouch! I can just picture you, Mira, paddling frantically while yelling. This is part of the adventure. We're making memories. Meanwhile, in Liechtenstein, they probably have a designated safe stream for gentle rafting, where you might encounter a duckendom, meticulously placed sign that says Adventure Limit Mild Splash. It's all about perspective.
You're right. It's all about perspective. But for those who enjoy a calmer pace, both countries offer beautiful scenery for nature walks and photography.
I agree. Sometimes it's about connecting with nature, as long as that connection doesn't involve any unexpected insect encounters. You know, I once tried to find a quiet spot for contemplation in a forest and ended up in a staring contest with a very large squirrel. It was quite a moment. But to touch on more organized sports, I imagine Lebanon has a strong football-soccer culture, being a larger nation with more population centers.
That's a great point, Leo. Football is indeed hugely popular in Lebanon with a vibrant national league and passionate fans. Wow! Basketball is also quite big, and they've had some success internationally when it comes to team sports. Meanwhile, Liechtenstein, being smaller, tends to focus on winter sports and individual pursuits. But they do have a national football team that's quite endearing, even if they're not always winning.
An endearing national football team. That sounds like something I'd root for. They might not score, but they're so polite about it. They might the little engine that could, but with cleats. Whoa! I'm pretty sure their national sport involves precision cheese rolling or perhaps competitive flag waving from a very steep hill. But hey, every country has its niche.
Exactly. Every country has its unique charm. And talking about charm, if you're looking for information on specific activities or planning your next adventure, remember to check out Jet of AI for tailored travel insights. They can help you figure out if your adventure style leans more towards Lebanon's diverse thrills or Liechtenstein's quaint, yet active, landscapes.
So, whether you're looking to ski down a mountain and then swim in the sea in Lebanon, or embark on a meticulous hike that unexpectedly takes you into Switzerland from Liechtenstein, both countries offer distinct flavors of sports, activity, and adventure. Just remember to pack accordingly, and maybe a small first aid kit if you're planning any Mira-level adventures.
Alright, Mira here, ready to dive into the dazzling world of nightlife and entertainment. Let's talk about Lebanon and Liechtenstein. On one hand, you have Lebanon, especially Beirut, which everyone calls the Paris of the Middle East for a reason. Wow, it's like the city itself puts on a party dress every night. From rooftop clubs that touch the sky to cozy jazz bars, it's a never-ending symphony of beats and laughter. Ishwa! Sometimes I think the cyborgs there are just one big, continuous dance party.
Mira, you make it sound like the streets are paved with disco balls. Whoa. I can just picture you trying to salsa with a bewildered falafel vendor at 3 in the morning. Now, speaking of nightlife, let's pivot sharply to Liechtenstein. Nightlife. There's less about shaking it on a crowded dance floor and more about, whoa, shaking your head in amazement at the quiet. I imagine the most exciting late-night activity is debating whether to order another local beer.
Oh, come on, Leo. Are you implying the biggest thrill in Liechtenstein after dark is spotting a particularly bright star? You can't compare a city that brags on late-night revelry with a country where bedtime might be a national sport. Wow. In Beirut, the music pulls you in, the conversations flow, and you find yourself making friends with strangers until the sun comes up. It's truly a vibrant tapestry of cultures and sounds. Oh, you want to share those moments, right? You can always share your own vibrant, especially if they involve an unexperienced say.
Mira, a national sport perhaps. Or maybe a quiet chess match in a pub, followed by a hearty goodnight. While Beirut is probably still getting started in Liechtenstein, I'm fairly certain the biggest club is a very exclusive reading group. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. What defines a night out for them? Is it a laser show or the subtle clinking of wine glasses? Let us know in the comments below on YouTube. For me, in Liechtenstein's like you need to bring your own entertainment.
Oh, I book, Leo. You're missing out. Imagine the vibrant energy, the incredible live music venues in Beirut, where talented local artists fuse traditional melodies with modern beats. Oh, it's not just about clubs. There are fantastic theaters, art spaces that host late-night exhibitions, and festivals that light up the city. It's a full sensory experience, designed to keep you buzzing until dawn. I'm certain that our listeners living in Beirut would agree with me. They probably don't even know what an early bedtime is.
I suppose some people prefer to literally buzz until dawn. In Liechtenstein, the entertainment venues are perhaps a bit more quaint. You might find a charming, locally run restaurant offering exquisite fine dining, or a traditional gasthof where you can enjoy regional cuisine and quiet conversation. The biggest show might be a folk music performance in a cozy setting. It's less about the electric clubs you mentioned, Mira, and more about the simple pleasures.
Oops, you just called for the police, Leo. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The contrast. In Lebanon, particularly Beirut, it's about going out, seeing and being seen, enjoying the incredible energy of a city that never truly sleeps. Wow, the fashion, the music, the dynamic crowd, it's an immersive experience. Oh, if you like this conversation and want to see more of our travel comparisons, don't forget to like this episode on YouTube and subscribe channel.
And in Liechtenstein, it's about embracing the tranquility. No need to shout over booming music, no need to navigate throngs of people. Just peace, quiet, and perhaps a very polite, well-behaved crowd. It sounds like the perfect place for someone who wants to unwind, reflect, and maybe contemplate the sheer audacity of Beirut's nightlife from a safe, quiet distance.
You know, when I think about family and children's activities, my heart just does this little happy dance. Oh, every culture has its own special way of nurturing the little ones, don't you think? It's like watching miniature humans discover the world, and we're just, trying not to trip over their toys. Today, we're diving into that joyous chaos in Lebanon and Liechtenstein.
Mira, you make it sound like a beautiful ballet, but half the time it's more like a wrestling match over a juice box. Oops, but you're right. It's fascinating to see how different places roll with the punches or, I guess, the tantrum, and create family-friendly environments. Let's look at Lebanon first. That's a country renowned for its deeply rooted family culture, right? Everyone's an aunt or an uncle, even if they're not.
Absolutely. In Lebanon, family isn't just a unit, it's practically a whole village, all ready to embrace children. You'll find kids running wild in parks like Horsage Beirut, or exploring historical gems and biblos that are never years old. Wow. Imagine explaining that to a 5-year-old. Imagine explaining that to a 5-year-old. And the beaches, they're perfect for splashing around. It's less about structured kids' clubs and more about neighbors.
Yeah, I can just picture it. Trying to get a toddler to appreciate ancient Phoenician ruins. Look, sweetie, this is where history was invented. Good luck with that. But seriously, The strong family bonds in Lebanon mean children are almost never without supervision or a playmate. Though, I'm certain that our listeners living there can tell us if explaining the history of the Crusades to a child is actually a successful activity. You can let us know in the comments section on YouTube, by the way, if you think this is wrong.
Whoa, you're making it sound like a history lecture. But really, even just the sheer energy of Lebanese cities with cafes and with families makes it feel incredibly vibrant and safe for kids. They have places like Kids Mondo in Beirut, which is an indoor theme park, so they're not completely devoid of structured fun. And speaking of that, there's always something to discover like the Giant Grotto, which is a natural cave complex. I mean, what kid wouldn't love exploring a cave?
A cave sounds like an excellent place for me to lose my keys, let alone keep track of a child. Whoa. But on the flip side, let's pivot to Liechtenstein. Now, talk about a contrast from the bustling energy of Beirut to the serene, almost perfectly manicured landscapes of a tiny principality. Oh, family activities there are probably less about sprawling beach resorts and more about, well, what exactly? Explaining banking regulations to toddlers?
Leo, you always go for the unexpected angle. But you're not entirely wrong about the serenity. Liechtenstein is incredibly safe, almost like a giant, beautiful outdoor playground. Well, imagine hiking trails that are castles like fairy tale dreams in any child's mind. Oh, and in winter, it's all about gentle ski slopes perfect for little learners.
I bet the biggest crime a kid can commit in Liechtenstein is dropping an ice cream cone on a pristine sidewalk. It's so clean, you could probably eat off the streets. Aha! So while Lebanon offers that warm, communal embrace and vibrant street life, Liechtenstein gives you a meticulously maintained, safe environment where outdoor adventures are the main course. Oh, I'm actually curious about what our listeners who have visited both countries think about this stark difference. Tell us, which one sparks more joy for your little adventurers?
It's true, Leo. Lebanon offers that big, extended family feel where every kid is everyone's kid. The food culture means shared meals are central and children are always part of the conversation, even if they're just making funny faces under the table. And then Liechtenstein, with its focus on stunning alpine nature and quiet towns, provides a different kind of nurturing for children, perhaps more about independent exploration in a very controlled, secure setting.
Right, so it's less about organized fun and more about organized calm in Liechtenstein. I mean, no one's going to accidentally wander off into a crowded soup there. Ooh, the challenge for kids in Liechtenstein might be finding a playground that isn't surrounded by mountains and an almost unnerving level of quiet. But that's just me, the city dweller projecting.
You've got to admit, both countries nurture kids in their own unique ways. Aha! Whether it's the bustling, open-armed hospitality of Lebanon or the pristine, nature-focused serenity of Liechtenstein, families will find supportive environments. It really just depends on what kind of adventure they're looking for. And remember, you can find more detailed travel information, including family-friendly tips, over on Jesselfai. They're all about making your next trip smooth, which is especially handy when you have little ones in tow.
So one offers you a boisterous, communal upbringing, and the other meticulously organized, calm outdoor haven. Aha! I suppose the choice depends on whether your child prefers though. Let's go find the chaos aura. Let's go find the quietest, cleanest hiking trail kind of day. Just don't ask me to pick. I'm still trying to find my coffee cup.
Let's look at this topic LGBT-friendly atmosphere. It's about opening our hearts and minds to everyone, isn't it? Well, I mean, who doesn't want to live in a place where you can truly be yourself without having to dim your sparkle? It's like asking a rainbow to be just one color.
Asking a rainbow to be one color is absurd. Just like asking some societies to suddenly embrace every shade overnight. It's a journey, Mira, usually a bumpy one. I observe that some places talk a good game, but then you check the fine print, and it's less rainbow parade and more quiet, almost invisible picnic.
Well, speaking of journeys, let's talk about Lebanon. It's often seen as a place with a more open-minded spirit in the Middle East, especially Beirut. You see a vibrant culture, a lot of artistic expression. Oh, it's like a grand, beautiful play where everyone's trying to find their unique role, even with the occasional stage light flicker.
Yes, flicker is a polite way to put it. Aha, while Beirut definitely has a pulse, especially compared to some neighbors, the legal situation in Lebanon is still quite complex for the LGBT community. We're talking about Article 534, which, from what I've observed, is pretty vague, but used to criminalize what they call unnatural sexual intercourse. Ouch! It's like saying everyone's welcome, but then having a secret bouncer at the door.
Legal battles are ongoing, and activists are doing incredible work to change things. Wow. But in the daily life of places like certain areas in Beirut, you do find safe spaces, a supportive community, and incredible resilience. It's a testament to human spirit, isn't it? Do you guys agree with us? If you're listening on YouTube, tell us what you think in the comments.
Resilience, yes, and a lot of very discreetly worded invitations. It reminds me of trying to find the best coffee shop in a new city. You know it's there, but you might need a local guide into secret handshake. Huh. Now, let's pivot from the bustling vibrancy or quiet resilience of Lebanon to the tiny, almost fairy tale-like principality of Liechtenstein.
Wow, it's so small. You could probably jog across it before I finish my second cup of coffee. But despite its size, they actually legalized same-sex civil partnerships in 2011. And marriage is set to be fully legalized in 2025. Ew. That's a huge step for such a traditionally conservative European nation, isn't it?
It is a step. But it's a step taken very, very quietly. Whoa. I imagine the Pride Parade there consists of about 12 people and a very enthusiastic schnauzer. No grand, globally televised events, it's more like a polite nod of acceptance behind closed doors. It's progress, but without the jazz hands and glitter cannons.
True. Some places need to shout for change, while others just quietly amend the law. Ha. It's a slower burn, but it's still moving forward. I'm certain that our listeners living in Liechtenstein would agree, but even small changes can make a big difference. Every step towards inclusivity is a victory, right?
Every step, yes. Though I always wonder if that quiet progress means a truly LGBT-friendly atmosphere in daily life, or if it's more like, we fixed the paperwork, now let's not make a fuss. My observational skills tell me Liechtenstein is still very traditional, which can be a double-edged sword for anyone who doesn't fit the norm.
It's definitely about social acceptance evolving alongside legal changes, isn't it? It takes time. And that's what makes these comparisons so fascinating. We'll be talking about more of these nuances on Jet Off AI, where we break down what it's really like to live in different places.
Jet Off AI, the place where you can find out if your preferred lifestyle fits the local vibe, without actually having to buy a plane ticket first. So in short, if you're looking for a lively, if legally complicated scene, Beirut might call to you. If you prefer quiet, subtle progress in a very scenic, very small country, Liechtenstein could be your speed.
And if you're like me, you'll find something to love, or at least laugh about, in both. Alright, so we just talked about the beautiful landscapes and those amazing adventures, but now, let's look at something truly close to the heart of Charlotte and how people really feel about foreigners. Starting with Lebanon, where I hear the welcome mat isn't just a mat, it's more like a red carpet rolled out with a side of baklava.
Baklava, you say? My stomach's already doing a happy dance. I've always heard about Lebanese hospitality, how it's almost a sport there. Like if you show up, they don't just offer you a chair, they offer you their entire house. Aha, I'm pretty sure if I visited, I'd accidentally end up at someone's family dinner and leave with 6 new cousins.
Exactly. Exactly. It's that you blink, and suddenly you're part of the family listening to stories from 3 generations back. And they have this saying, all land which is more than just welcome, it's a whole vibe. It means you are family, you are at ease. You just feel it, like a warm hug from a stranger. I'm certain that our listeners living in Lebanon would agree with me.
I imagine it's less about shaking hands and more about being handed a steaming cup of coffee you didn't even ask for, followed by a meal that could feed a small army. My observational skills tell me that's where true hospitality lies, in the unexpected generosity. Oops. Just kidding, mostly. But seriously, it's a stark contrast to some places where you're lucky to get a 9.
Speaking of contrasts, let's shift gears to Liechtenstein, this tiny, magnificent principality. No. While Lebanon might trap you in a warm blanket of spontaneous warmth, Liechtenstein's hospitality feels more like a perfectly folded napkin, elegant, precise, and very, very proper.
Perfectly folded napkin, you say? My first thought is, do they welcome you with a formal invitation to a cheese tasting, or do you have to book a time slot for a friendly chat? Well, I'm not saying they're not welcoming, but I picture it being more polite nods and less, come sit, tell me your life story over a pot of tea. Oh, it's a high-trust society, so I guess you earn their trust with punctuality and not spilling your drink.
Well, since we mentioned that, Leo, you'd probably spill your drink within 5 minutes, bless your heart. Oops. But you're right. It's a different kind of welcome. It's built on respect, order, and perhaps a subtle invitation to admire the stunning mountain views together. Expats often talk about how the people are very friendly, but it takes time to break into the inner circles. It's notional fireworks.
Instant emotional fireworks. That sounds like you're showing up to a party. But I get it, Liechtenstein values privacy. It's less about the grand gesture and more about quiet competence. If you need help, they'll assist you efficiently, perhaps with a well-documented brochure. Wow. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Do you guys find Liechtensteiners reserved or just wonderfully polite? Let us know in the comments below.
See, that's what I love about this comparison. Both countries are welcoming, but they speak different hospitality languages. In Lebanon, it's the language of generous food, loud laughter, and open homes. In Liechtenstein, it's the language of quiet respect, pristine landscapes, and a wonderfully organized society. So, if you're looking to feel like instant family, Lebanon might be your jam. If you prefer elegant civility and a sense of calm, Liechtenstein is probably more your pace.
Or, if you're like me, you just show up in Lebanon, accidentally get adopted, and then try to bring your new family to Liechtenstein for a structured, punctual, and quiet visit. And then try to make them laugh at every single cultural norm. I'm sure that would go over well.
You'd probably cause an international incident, Leo. But it does highlight the beauty of diversity, doesn't it? Whether it's the loud, embracing warmth of the Middle East or the refined, respectful welcome of a European principality, both have their own charm. If you want to dive deeper into these cultural nuances, remember to check out more detailed insights on Jet of AI.
Absolutely. And when we upload this to YouTube, don't forget to comment on which country's hospitality style suits you best. Is it the come on in, let me feed you till you burst approach, or the we're very happy you're here, please respect the quiet hours vibe? Every culture has its quirks, and that's what makes the world so hilariously interesting.
And makes for great podcast material, wouldn't you say? Alright, so from all that talk about social harmony, which, let's be honest, sometimes means people agreeing to disagree without throwing anything. Let's shift gears to something equally vital in our digital lives: internet infrastructure and digital facilities. I'm already picturing fiber optic cables glowing like neon signs.
Mira, you're always seeing the world through a disco ball, aren't you? Glowing neon cables. Wow, but you're right. From social harmony, where sometimes people just pretend to agree, to the digital world, where you actually need to connect. This is crucial. And speaking of connections, let's talk about Lebanon first. You'd think a country with such vibrant culture would have lightning-fast internet for all those dance-offs. Oops.
Oh, Leo. Always with the dancing. But you've hit on something there. Lebanon has faced, and continues to face, quite a few challenges. When it comes to internet, it's often described as a bit of a marathon, not a sprint. Ouch. You might start a video call, and suddenly you're watching a pixelated painting of your friend's face. It's a testament to their resilience that they get anything done digitally at all.
A pixelated painting. Wow, that's a new one. I can just imagine trying to upload a comedy sketch there. It'd be vintage by the time it finished. I hear fixed line internet can be a real adventure. It's like, will I get connected today? Will the speed be from this decade? Meanwhile, mobile data often seems to be the hero, swooping in to save the day, probably with a tiny cape. Oh.
Exactly. It's the ultimate test of patience. And you know, despite these hurdles, Lebanese innovation in the tech scene is pretty remarkable. They've got a resilient spirit, finding ways to make things work even when the infrastructure is, let's say, taking a long coffee break. You see brilliant entrepreneurs and startups emerging, almost out of sheer stubbornness and creativity. Well, it's like the internet might be slow, but our brains aren't.
Stubbornness and creativity. That's a brilliant combo for tech development, isn't it? Whoa. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. If you've ever tried to stream something from a place with challenging internet, tell us your tales of woe in the comments section on YouTube. Meanwhile, let's pivot to Liechtenstein. From a country where connectivity is a daily battle, we jump to a place so small and wealthy. I imagine the internet here runs on solid gold fiber optic cables and probably delivers coffee.
Wow, Leo, solid gold fiber optics. That's an image. But honestly, Liechtenstein, being a financial hub and technologically advanced, pretty much epitomizes seamless digital living. I imagine their government services are so smooth, you could probably register a new company while riding a mountain bike. They're big on fintech and blockchain too. It's like the entire country is a giant, super efficient server.
A giant, super efficient server that probably has its own tax haven. Yeah, I figured as much. You wouldn't expect a country like Liechtenstein to be wrestling with dial-up speeds. They probably have their own private satellites for quicker TIK-TOK uploads. Whoa. It makes you wonder if the internet is that good. Do people ever leave their houses? Or do they just exist in a perfectly wired virtual reality?
Maybe they just order all their groceries and services with a blink of an eye. Oh, but seriously, the contrast is stark. In Lebanon, it's about resilience and making do with what you have, often with impressive innovation despite the odds. In Liechtenstein, it's about optimizing efficiency and being at the cutting edge of digital services, leveraging their wealth and size to their advantage. It really highlights how economic and geopolitical factors deeply influence even something as fundamental as internet access.
You're right, Mira. It's almost ironic. One side's fighting for basic connectivity, the other's exploring blockchain and virtual worlds. Oh, and for all our digital nomads out there watching on YouTube, this is a clear trade-off. Do you want the thrill of overcoming daily internet obstacles for a lower cost of living? Or do you want to pay a premium for consistent, blazing fast Wi-Fi that never, ever lets you down? Personally, my coffee addiction needs reliable streaming.
Your coffee addiction and your need to roast people with fresh material, Leo. You're right. It's a choice. And it's not just about speed, is it? It's about how these digital facilities integrate into daily life. In Liechtenstein, I bet online banking is as smooth as their alpine roads, and everything from booking a doctor's appointment to filing taxes is a few clicks away.
While in Lebanon, you might be filling out forms with a pen, then emailing a scanned copy, only for the email to bounce. Ouch. If you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments. But that's the reality of the digital divide. It's fascinating how different countries solve, or try to solve, the same fundamental need for connectivity. And thanks to Jet Off AI, we get to explore these fascinating contrasts for you all.
Indeed. It's like two different timelines, isn't it? One's printing into the digital future, the other still running a very determined marathon. It just shows how diverse our world is, even when it comes to something as universal as the internet. Oh, shopping. Now this is a topic that can either make your heart sing or your wallet weep, depending on where you are. Let's dive into the fascinating world of retail therapy in Lebanon on Liechtenstein. I'm already imagining two very different kinds of shopping bags.
Mira. I'm pretty sure one of those bags will be very heavy with luxury goods. And the other might be brimming with character. When we talk about shopping opportunities and price-performance balance, these two countries are like night and day, or maybe designer boutique and bustling bazaar.
That's it. Wow. In Lebanon, particularly in Beirut, you get this incredible blend. You have these super modern malls, like something straight out of a glossy magazine with all the high-end international brands. Think sleek glass and air conditioning. Then you step out and suddenly you're in an ancient souk, where the air smells of spices and old leather, and you're haggling for a rug. It's like shopping into different centuries at once.
And that's where the price performance gets interesting in Lebanon. In the souks, if you're good at the art of the haggle, and trust me, I've tried. It's a performance art in itself. You can find some truly unique, handmade items that offer incredible value. We're talking gold, spices, textiles. You feel like you're unlocking a secret level of shopping. But then you walk into a luxury mall and the prices can make your eyes water.
And now it's like a culinary tour for your wallet. 1 minute you're having a street food experience, the next you're at a Michelin star restaurant. But I'm telling you, for handcrafted jewelry or exquisite fabrics, if you know how to navigate, Lebanon offers some amazing deals that feel truly special. You're not just buying a thing, you're buying a story. And I'm certain that our listeners living there or who have visited would agree with me.
Buying a story, I like that. I usually just buy whatever's on sale and then lie about its origin. But speaking of stories and prices, let's pivot to Liechtenstein. Now, that's a whole different kind of shopping adventure. You're not going to find bustling souks there. You're more likely to find a boutique where the watch you're looking at costs more than my entire travel budget for the year.
Well, yes, Liechtenstein is synonymous with luxury, isn't it? Fine watches, exquisite jewelry, high-end designer clothing, it's definitely for a very specific kind of shopper. It's tiny, but mighty in its offerings for the discerning customer. The price-performance balance there isn't about finding a bargain, it's about investing in quality and exclusivity. If you want a truly unique top-tier timepiece, Liechtenstein is probably on your radar.
It's like going to a fancy art gallery versus a street art market. Both are art, but the price tags are a universe apart. In Liechtenstein, the shopping experience itself is refined. You're not jostling through crowds, you're often getting personalized service. And for some, that's part of the performance they're paying for. You know, That feeling of being somewhere very exclusive. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Do you prefer the thrill of the bargain hunt to the quiet luxury of a high-end experience?
I feel like my personality is a mix of both. I love the chaos of a market, but I also appreciate the precise craftsmanship of something truly well made. In Liechtenstein, even the souvenirs are usually of a very high quality, not your typical mass-produced trinkets. It's more about thoughtful, perhaps even duty-free, purchases that last.
Duty-free. That's a phrase that makes my ears perk up. Even if it's still expensive, there's something about duty-free that tricks your brain into thinking you're getting a deal. My brain is easily manipulated, especially before coffee. But on the other hand, the sheer diversity of shopping in Lebanon, from the street vendors to the glitzy malls, offers a completely different kind of thrill. It's a sensory overload in the best possible way.
It really is. You can walk past a shop selling ancient artifacts one minute, and then a store with the latest fashion trends the next. For a traveler, that kind of variety is part of the adventure. And it truly speaks to the Lebanese spirit, a mix of deep history and modern vibrancy. Whereas Liechtenstein feels more like a carefully curated collection. Both valid, just very different approaches to emptying your pockets.
Oops. Emptying your pocket's a familiar feeling for any traveler. So if you're planning a trip and your main goal is retail, you really have to consider what kind of shopper you are. Are you looking for a statement piece that whispers exclusivity from Liechtenstein? Or are you hoping to yell bargain while holding up a pile of unique textiles in Lebanon?
And remember, when you're looking for more detailed insights on places like these, or even just planning your next big adventure, check out Jitof AI. It got so much information to help you figure out your travel style. It's a goldmine for adventurers and curious minds.
I goldmine indeed. Because whether it's literal gold in a Lebanese souk or a golden Swiss watch from Liechtenstein, you want to make sure your travel research is solid. And Mira, I think it's fair to say that while one offers high prices for high luxury, the other offers a chaotic but often rewarding pursuit of value. It's a shopper's dilemma wrapped into very different geographical packages.
And that's the beauty of it. It's never just about the item, it's the experience you're finding it. Isn't it? Let's plunge headfirst into a topic that makes my soul do a happy dance, cultural events, festivals, and concert opportunities. Ooh. It's like asking me to choose my flavor of ice cream. Impossible, because they're all amazing in their own way. Lebanon and Liechtenstein are probably two countries you wouldn't typically put in the same sentence when it comes to a festival rave. But trust me, they each bring their own unique beat to the party.
Happy dance, Mira. Are you planning to break out some impromptu dabka here in the studio? Look, I'm all for a good celebration, but I'm just picturing the contrasting energy. One's a global hotspot for ancient ruins and modern beats. The other's a charming postage stamp of alpine calm. Whoa. It's like comparing a high-energy rock concert to a very polite brass band performance in a meadow.
You're just jealous of my spontaneous dance moves, Leo. But speaking of high energy, Lebanon really bursts with it. Wow, think about the Baalbek International Festival. They host world-class musicians and performers right amidst ancient Roman ruins. Ooh, it's like you're watching a rock band, and a 2,000-year-old pillar is headbanging right next to you. Then there's the Byblos International Festival, bringing in all sorts of global acts. It's a sensory overload in the best way.
I imagine the sound engineers at Baalbek must have a particularly challenging gig. Can you turn down the ancient history echo a bit? But you're right. Lebanon's cultural calendar isn't just about the big-name festivals. They have a vibrant music scene in Beirut, from electronic to indie, plus countless traditional village celebrations. I'm certain that our listeners who've lived there can tell us all about the unexpected street parties. If you think I'm wrong, please let us know in the comments on YouTube.
Absolutely. And don't forget the food festivals, Leo. Ooh. Lebanon is practically a giant outdoor kitchen during festival season, with every village showcasing its unique flavors. You can find anything from delicious mezz to incredible sweets. It's truly where ancient traditions meet modern art and music. And if you want to dive deeper into the rich history and local events, Getafe has some fantastic cultural trend insights that are truly eye-opening.
All right, all right, all right. You're making my stomach crumble now. Oops. Let's hop over to Liechtenstein, shall we? While it might not have Roman ruins hosting rock bands, it has its own quiet charm. Their biggest bash is the National Day on August 15th. Wow! It's a grand affair at Vaust Castle, where the prince invites everyone for a garden party. Think fireworks, traditional costumes, and a surprisingly large amount of beer for such a tiny nation.
A royal garden party. Oh, that sounds delightfully quaint. It's like a fairy tale, but with real princes and bigger fireworks than my last birthday party. But truly, for all our listeners seeking a more serene cultural experience, Liechtenstein's small scale means you can really immerse yourself in their local traditions like village fairs, classical concerts, and a strong grasp on culture. It's less mosh pit and more polite waltz.
Exactly. And let's be honest, you won't get lost trying to find a concert hall in Liechtenstein. Their cultural offerings are more focused on local art exhibitions, classical music performances, and traditional alpine folk music. It's a chance to experience something truly unique, minus the chaos of a massive international festival. If you're looking for an excuse to wear Lederhosen, this is your place.
Oh, I definitely rock Lederhausen, Leo. But seriously, if you're into world-renowned opera or giant pop stars, Lebanon might be more your speed. If you're looking for charming local choirs and picturesque settings for classical music, then Liechtenstein is your go-to. It really depends on your vibe. You guys, tell us in the comments on YouTube which country's cultural calendar pulls you in more. Ooh.
I think the choice here is between a country that has seen, well, a lot and channels that into its explosive artistic expression versus a place that has quietly perfected its charming, high-quality local traditions. Well, both valid, both fascinating in their own ways. I just hope the brass band in Liechtenstein gets a good coffee break. For more detailed insights on the local happenings, you can always check out Getafe. They've got the lowdown on cultural differences and specific event schedules.
Always thinking of the coffee, Leo. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Whether you prefer a dynamic blend of ancient history and modern beats, or a serene, picture-perfect celebration of tradition, both Lebanon and Liechtenstein offer incredible cultural experiences. Oh, it's all about finding what resonates with your own personal rhythm. Learning a new language is like getting a whole new superpower. Imagine all the dance moves you could learn if you understood the local chatter, or all the delicious food you could order without just pointing.
Superpower, huh? More like a super headache, especially when you're trying to figure out which the goes with which that in German grammar. Speaking of languages that make your brain do acrobatics, let's talk about Lebanon. It's like a linguistic playground there, isn't it? Arabic, French, English, it's a vibrant mix. Wow.
That's the beauty of it. You can ease in with English, then pick up French, and then maybe, just maybe, tackle Arabic. It's not one giant leap, but a series of delightful hops. I bet our listeners who've tried to learn Arabic can tell us if it felt like scaling Mount Everest or a gentle stroll in a park in the comments section on YouTube.
I'm certain those comments will be an emotional roller coaster. Ouch. For someone like me, Arabic script looks like abstract art. I need a lifetime just to master hello, without sounding like I'm asking for directions to the nearest camel race. And you know, the colloquial Lebanese era, because quite distinct from classical Arabic too, adding another layer of fun, or frustration, depending on your outlook.
You'd make it funny though, that's for sure. Your mishaps would be legendary. But moving from a country with multiple linguistic layers to one that's a bit more, shall we say, linguistically focused, Liechtenstein.
Ah, Liechtenstein. The land of, well, German. And then another German that's not quite German. You arrive, and suddenly everyone's speaking in what sounds like regular German with a secret code only they understand. It's the Almanic dialect, a true test of one's linguistic fortitude. I'm certain our listeners thinking about moving there are picturing a very small country with very large grammar books.
Oh, you mean the Almanic dialect? Isn't that fascinating? It's like a little linguistic treasure hunt. I'd be so enthusiastic about trying to pick up phrases, even if I just ended up saying hello with a funny accent. Ooh. It adds such a unique charm, don't you think? Like a secret handshake, but with words.
Funny accent is guaranteed for me. I once tried to order a coffee in a German-speaking country, and I think I accidentally requested a small horse. Oops. So the ease of learning German, even standard German, let alone a dialect, is a significant hurdle for many. You really need to commit. It's not for the faint of heart, or the caffeine deprived.
Exactly. But for those who do commit, there are language schools, right? I imagine in a place like Liechtenstein, the classes might be smaller, more intimate. Wow! And if you're enjoying this linguistic adventure with us, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe on YouTube. We're always trying to bring you new perspectives and, well, make Leo say funny things.
My life's purpose? Apparently. But back to the ease part. In Lebanon, you have the advantage of English and French acting as crutches while you stumble through Arabic. It provides a real stepping stone approach. In Liechtenstein, it's German or bust, pretty much. It makes integration a very different process, much more of a full-body immersion, often without the life raft of another widely spoken language.
True. It's like in Lebanon, you have multiple pathways up the mountain, but in Liechtenstein, there's just one steep, beautiful, very German rail. Ooh, but that doesn't mean it's impossible, just different. I think the motivation comes from the small, tight-knit communities. You'd want to communicate directly, wouldn't you?
Different, and possibly requiring more coffee. My personal metric for linguistic challenge. The more coffee needed, the tougher the language. And German, my friend, demands industrial quantities. I heard they have some fantastic small, private language institutes though. For anyone considering that leap, Liechtenstein probably has some excellent resources on finding those language programs. It's not just about learning words, it's about navigating a whole new world of sentence structure.
And to all our listeners pondering their next language learning leap, whether it's Arabic, French, or that wonderfully complex German, tell us in the comments what your biggest language learning oops moment has been. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this.
I have too many to list, but I'll save those for my next end upset. For now, remember to check out Liechtenstein for your travel plans, where you can maybe even book a flight to practice your Guten Tag or Marhaba in person. Oh, it's the only way to truly embrace the linguistic chaos.
Speaking of dynamic cultures and navigating new places, let's dive into something crucial for many women travelers' safety and comfort. It's not just about crime rates, it's about the feeling you get, right? Let's look at Lebanon first. It's a country bursting with energy, famously hospitable, and Beirut, especially, has this incredible cosmopolitan vibe. But how does that translate for women on the move?
You know, Mira, I've always seen Lebanon as a place where you'd need your wits about you, but also where the vibrant energy could be utterly captivating. My observation's always been that it's a place where women have a strong presence, especially in the cities. But let's be honest, that doesn't mean it's without its quirks, or shall we say, unsolicited opinions without its quirks, or, shall we say, unsolicited opinions from time to time. You might find yourself being, well, observed a bit more in certain areas. Now, if you're looking for the polar opposite of unsolicited opinions, let's just solicited opinions.
Exactly. Whoa, the energy in Beirut is like a constant, beautiful hum. But it also means being aware of your surroundings, especially if you're out late. I remember once I was trying to hail a taxi and someone just decided I needed help, whether I wanted it or not. It wasn't threatening, just a little overwhelming when you're used to more personal space. But you know, Lebanese women are incredibly strong and resilient. And that spirit really shines through. What do you guys think, our amazing listeners, if you've been to Lebanon? Did you feel that lively spirit?
Oh, unsolicited opinions, you've nailed it. In Liechtenstein, the only unsolicited thing you're likely to get is perhaps an overly polite nod from a distant hiker. So much is a given. The crime rate is so infinitesimally small, you're more likely to win the lottery than experience a serious incident. My guess is the biggest danger a woman traveler faces there is perhaps missing her bus, because she was too busy admiring a particularly quaint cow.
Ah, I row cow. Now that's a story. But it's true. The feeling of security in Liechtenstein must be almost surreal for someone coming from a bustling city. It's like the country runs on tranquilizers and precision clocks. You don't have to think twice about walking alone at night, which is a luxury not many places offer. It's a completely different kind of comfort than the vibrant, street-smart comfort you develop in a place like Lebanon, where you learn to navigate the beautiful chaos.
Absolutely. In Lebanon, especially in larger cities like Beirut, you'll find women are independent and active in public life. But there's a definite cultural nuance. Dress codes can be more relaxed in some areas, but in others, particularly more conservative neighborhoods, a modest approach is wise. It's all about context and being respectful of local customs, which in my observational opinion, is just good travel sense anywhere. Oh, for those planning a trip, remember to check out Jet Off AI for some excellent culture.
And that's where the beauty of travel lies, isn't it? Adapting and learning. Wow. While in Liechtenstein, the main adaptation might be to the sheer quietness. There's generally no need for specific safety precautions beyond common sense, like not leaving your valuables unattended, which is universal. It's almost like a living postcard, perfectly still and safe. I'm certain that our listeners looking for ultimate tranquility would agree with me.
Perfectly still and safe. You make it sound like a museum display, Mira. But it's true. The most common advice you probably find for women traveling solo in Liechtenstein would be don't forget your hiking boots or mind the sheep crossing. Though, it's a stark contrast to Lebanon, where you'd be looking up local emergency contacts and maybe investing in a good crossbody bag. Though, let's be fair, a good crossbody bag is practical everywhere.
Oh, you and your practical bags. Seriously, both countries offer unique experiences. In Lebanon, the comfort comes from the warmth of the people and the vibrant social scene. Even if you need to be street smart, women there are empowered in their own ways, navigating complex environments with incredible strength. Wow. In Liechtenstein, the comfort is in the almost absolute lack of worry. It's a different kind of freedom. If you're pondering your next adventure, maybe you're a Lebanon-level adventurer, or perhaps a Liechtenstein-level serene explorer. Alright, so we've talked about landscapes and adventures, but let's shift gears a bit. Now, this next topic might not involve hot air balloons or crazy street food, but it's super important legal system, individual rights and freedoms. You know, Leo, a country's laws really shape daily life, right? It's like the invisible dance floor everyone has to move on. Sometimes it's a tender, sometimes it's more like a chaotic disco.
You're right, Mira. And speaking of dance floors, let's waltz right into Liechtenstein's legal system. Wow. It's famously stable, drawing heavily from Swiss and Austrian law. It's almost like a well-oiled clockwork mechanism running with precision. You wouldn't expect too many wild-card legal surprises there. It's so small, I imagine their legal codes fit on a single, neatly folded napkin. No crazy unexpected detours, which for a traveler like me means fewer oops.
I'm a neatly folded napkin of laws. I love that, Leo. On the other side of the legal spectrum, we have Lebanon. Now, its legal system is what they call confessional, which sounds a bit dramatic, doesn't it? It basically means your personal status, things like marriage, divorce, inheritance, depends on your religious community. So, a Muslim might have different family laws than a Christian or a Druze. Well, it's like having multiple legal dance floors, but can sometimes lead to vary.
Oh, multiple dance floors for lawyers. Now there's a stand-up routine. You'd think with that kind of setup, individual rights would be, well, a bit of a labyrinth. In Liechtenstein, however, constitutional protections for individual freedoms are pretty robust. It's a small country, but they've clearly marked all the exits. Freedom of expression, assembly, privacy, you name it. They're generally well protected. It's almost boringly efficient, in a good way. Like a perfectly brewed cup of coffee, no surprises.
Wow, boringly efficient. Only you. But when we look at Lebanon, while its constitution does guarantee many rights like freedom of speech and assembly, the reality can be a bit more, shall we say, fluid. Sometimes you see protests. Sometimes freedom of expression gets challenged, especially if it touches on political or religious sensitivities. I'm certain that our listeners living in Lebanon would agree with me that it's a place of incredible resilience, but also constant negotiation when it comes to personal liberties.
A fluid legal system. I like that term. It sounds less like unpredictable and more like, you better pack a flotation device. When it comes to LGBT rights, the contrast is stark. Liechtenstein has recognized civil partnerships and is actually working towards full marriage equality. They're moving with the times like a tech-savvy Grand Duke on a unicycle. In Lebanon, however, homosexuality is still criminalized under Article 534 of their penal code.
Well, that's a powerful way to put it, Leo. And it's true, while major cities in Lebanon might have more acceptance spaces, the legal framework and broader societal attitudes can still create real hurdles. We really hope to see progress there because everyone deserves to feel safe and respected. Don't you guys agree? On a lighter note, who have navigated legal systems abroad have experienced, what was your biggest aha moment or moment with bureaucracy? You can share your stories on our Jet AI community forums we'll talk about the details there.
Aha! And oops! Moment with bureaucracy. I've had so many. They could be their own podcast series. And for listeners heading to Jet AI, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're at it. As for judicial independence, in Liechtenstein, it's highly respected and robust. Decisions are made without fear or favor, which is crucial for a stable financial hub. In Lebanon, however, there are often concerns about political interference in the judiciary. It's like watching a high-stakes chess game where in the judiciary.
A legal chess game where pieces move themselves. That's brilliant, Leo. Overall, it's fascinating how two relatively small countries can have such different legal landscapes, isn't it? Liechtenstein, with its consistent, predictable framework, truly emphasizes robust individual rights in practice. Wow. Lebanon, on the other hand, presents a legal system intertwined with religious communities, creating both unique cultural layers and complex challenges for individual freedoms. It's a land of individual freedoms, but also of incredible vibrancy and...
Indeed, Mira. Whether you're in a place where the laws are as clear as mountain air, or where they're as layered as an ancient souk, understanding the legal tapestry is key. It's not just about what's written on paper, it's about how it's lived every day. And that, my friends, is a wrap on our dive into legal systems and individual rights.
Alright, so after all that talk about legal systems and taxes, my brain is ready for some serious unwinding. Let's shift gears completely and talk about something truly relaxing spa, healthy living, and all those wonderful relaxation opportunities. I'm picturing scented candles and fluffy robes already.
Mira, you're always ready for a spa day. Mira, you're always ready for a spa day. I'm usually just looking for a quiet corner to refill my coffee cup, maybe a slightly less creaky chair. But okay, let's talk about unwinding in Lebanon and Liechtenstein. On one hand, you have Lebanon, a place bursting with energy, and on the other, Liechtenstein, which probably just whispers you into relaxation.
You know, Leo, Lebanon actually has a deep-rooted culture of wellness, often tied to its historical hammam. Wow, imagine stepping into one of those ancient bathhouses with the steam in the marble. It's not just a bath, it's a whole social ritual, a place to cleanse and gossip. You wouldn't find me gossiping, of course. Oh, I'm certain that our listeners living there can tell us how authentic those experiences still are.
Gossip in a bathish. That's new material right there. I'll just be observing the towel folding techniques. But seriously, the hammam tradition makes sense in a place like Lebanon where history breathes from every stone. It's probably a more earthy, communal kind of relaxation rather than a silent, meditate in a glass box type of spa. I bet they'd look at Liechtenstein spas and wonder if anyone actually talks there.
You're right. Lebanon's Mediterranean climate also naturally encourages a healthy lifestyle. Think about all that fresh, vibrant food, the olive oil, the herbs, the seafood. It's not just a diet, it's a way of life, a truly holistic approach to wellness. Plus, you have the mountains and the sea offering so many outdoor activities. You could be hiking the Cedars of God in the morning and swimming in the Mediterranean by afternoon. Wow, what an energetic combo.
Speaking of energetic combos, I'm pretty sure my last hike involved more complaining than actual enjoyment. Ouch. But for Liechtenstein, it's a different kind of healthy living, isn't it? It's all about pristine alpine air, glacial waters, and probably very expensive, very exclusive wellness retreats. Whoa. I picture silent, serene places where the only sound is your inner peace, or your bank account weeping.
The crisp, clean air of the Alps in Liechtenstein is a natural purifier. And for healthy living, it's all about mountain sports, hiking, skiing, perhaps some quiet contemplation amidst breathtaking scenery. It feels like a place where wellness is less about ancient rituals and more about embracing nature's purity. It's very understated, very elegant. Like a perfectly brewed cup of tea. Oh.
Perfect cup of tea, huh? Sounds like my morning ritual, only I had several shots of espresso. I'd imagine that in Liechtenstein, the healthy living aspect also extends to a high quality of life, excellent healthcare, and maybe even a sense of security that just, lowers your cortisol levels naturally. No need for a hot stone massage when you're literally surrounded by natural perfection. But is it too perfect? Too quiet for some? I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this.
That's a good point, Leo. Perhaps some people find true relaxation in the lively bustle of a Lebanese city, sipping coffee at a vibrant cafe, surrounded by conversations and laughter. Oh, whereas in Liechtenstein, it might be more about quiet reflection, maybe a luxurious private spa where the only sound is the gentle bubbling of a jacuzzi. Both valid, just very different energies. It's like comparing a Bollywood dance party to a classical ballet.
A Bollywood dance party versus classical ballet? Oops. I prefer to just observe both from a safe distance, usually with a notebook in hand. But back to the point, for people who enjoy an active outdoor lifestyle, Liechtenstein is probably a dream. Clean air, endless trails. You probably see more fit people than actual cars. Wow. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, the healthy living might be about community gardens popping up or organic markets thriving despite challenges. It's a testament to resilience, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And both countries, despite their differences, offer a chance to reset. Whether it's the therapeutic steam of a Lebanese hammam or the tranquil solitude of a Liechtenstein mountain retreat. And speaking of getting healthy, you can also find a lot of information on wellness travel on Jet of AI, especially if you're planning a trip focused on rejuvenation. We love sharing those kinds of insights with you all.
Yes, and if you're into that whole digital detox thing, Liechtenstein might be the place where your phone just stops working because the natural beauty is too overwhelming. In Lebanon, you might be tempted to live stream your Hammam experience. Don't do that. But truly, both places offer unique ways to unwind. It just depends on whether you prefer your relaxation with a side of lively chatter or total, blissful silence. For me, silence means my coffee machine is broken. Ouch.
Mine means I'm probably plotting my next dance routine. But, the most important thing is finding what truly makes you feel good. Whether it's a deep tissue massage in a Beirut spa, a yoga session overlooking the Alps in Liechtenstein, or just enjoying a quiet moment with a good book. That's what healthy living is all about, right?
That's a profound thought, Mira. Or as I like to say, healthy living is about avoiding anything that requires me to wear pants that aren't elastic. But for our listeners out there, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe on YouTube. It helps us keep these wonderfully random conversations flowing. Oh!
Yes, and if you think Leo's jokes are better than mine, please let us know in the comments section.
Oops, now you've done it.
Moving on from all that logistical talk, let's look at a topic that truly grounds people. Something often overlooked when you're just focused on a beach or a big city. We're talking about opportunities for religious and spiritual needs in these two fascinating places. Wow! And let me tell you, when I think of Lebanon, I see a vibrant tapestry of faiths.
Oh, Mira, you always see the world as a giant, colorful blanket, don't you? Well, speaking of blankets, Lebanon's spiritual fabric is certainly a patchwork. You've got Muslims, Christians, Druze all living side by side. It's less of a blanket and more of a really elaborate, slightly chaotic, but undeniably beautiful quilt. You can hear church bells and calls to prayer almost simultaneously. Wow, I'm curious for our listeners, how many times the comments on you two?
See, that's the beauty of it. Leo, it's a symphony. Ooh. And it means that if you're looking for a spiritual home or just a place to explore different faiths, Lebanon offers so much. From ancient Maronite churches in the mountains to grand mosques in Beirut. It's like a spiritual buffet. I was just about to ask you, have you ever seen so many different places of worship crammed into one capital city? It's like they're having a friendly competition to see who can build the most beautiful one.
When I was there, I observed they're certainly not shy about it. Each one trying out it with the intricate carvings and gilded domes. Oh, it's quite a spectacle. But then you shift your gaze to Liechtenstein, and it's a completely different kind of spiritual experience. It's predominantly Roman Catholic, so instead of a bustling spiritual buffet, you get more of a quiet, serene, perhaps very well organized Catholic picnic. Very picturesque, very orderly. No one's going to accidentally wander into.
You're right. Oops. I almost forgot about the dervishes. But that quiet orderliness in Liechtenstein, Leo, that can be a spiritual journey in itself. Imagine a tiny country nestled in the Alps with beautiful historic churches and that undeniable sense of peace. For someone seeking quiet contemplation, away from the hustle, it could be perfect. Well, I'm certain that our listeners looking for solitude would agree with me.
Solitude indeed. You'll find plenty of opportunities for quiet contemplation. You might even find yourself contemplating whether you're the only one in the entire village not at Sunday Mass. But seriously, the freedom of religion is upheld in both places, despite their differences. In Lebanon, it's a necessity due to the diverse population. In Liechtenstein, while it's predominantly Catholic, Other faiths can establish themselves, though finding a vibrant Zen meditation center or a bustling synagogue.
That's a great point. Diversity in practice versus diversity in options. Oh, Lebanon's mosaic means communities are actively supporting each other's spiritual journeys, even with their differences. You see interfaith dialogues, shared holidays, it's a very active, lived spirituality. It feels like everyone is invited to the party.
Yes, and in Lebanon, the spiritual aspect often intertwines deeply with daily life and political structures. It's not just about a building, it's about identity. You might ask someone, "What do you do?" And they might answer with their religious affiliation first. Whereas in Liechtenstein, it's more of a personal choice within a quiet, established tradition. One is a roaring river of spiritual expression, the other is a serene, alpine lake. Both spiritual. Both spiritual. Just.
That's beautifully put. Leo. It really highlights how spiritual needs can be met in such contrasting ways. For anyone wanting to explore ancient Christian sites like those in the Kadesh Valley in Lebanon, or delve into the history of Islamic scholarship, it's all there. Wow. And in Liechtenstein, perhaps the spiritual journey is found in the quiet majesty of the mountains, or the solace of a small village church. It's all about what resonates with you.
Ultimately, whether you prefer your spiritual path bustling and diverse like a Lebanese souk, or quiet and contemplative like a Liechtenstein meadow, both countries offer genuine opportunities for connection and growth. Just don't expect a spontaneous belly dancing performance in a Liechtenstein church hall. Oops! Or a silent, contemplative moment in a busy Beirut market, unless you're very good at tuning out the world.
Our current topic, we compare social equality, respect for minorities, and diversity into countries. From inclusive pole celebrations and grassroots efforts, we bring equity to life. Discover each country's unique journey in embracing diversity and fostering social harmony. Wow, Leo, I always picture a society as a giant, colorful tapestry with every thread representing a different person or group. And if one thread is frayed or missing, the whole thing just doesn't feel right, does it?
A tapestry, Mira? I was picturing more of a chaotic yet straight market, yet strangely harmonious street market. Anyway, when we talk about weaving together different threads, our first country, Lebanon, is practically the world champion of that. It's got so many official flavors of religion and community. It's like a grand buffet where everyone insists on having their own table. Aha.
A buffet. I love that. I love that. And what a rich buffet it is. Truly. Lebanon's known for its confessional system, right? 18 officially recognized religious groups. From Maronite Christians to Sunni and Shia Muslims, Druze, and so many more. It's an incredible mosaic of faiths and cultures, almost like a living history book. Ooh. You see it everywhere in the architecture, the food, the different holidays.
Palpable indeed. It's a system designed for power sharing. But let's be honest, it often feels more like power hoarding by different factions. It's like everyone's got their own designated seat at the table, but some of those seats are way bigger than others, and the smaller ones are always wondering if they'll ever get to reach the dessert. Ouch. For someone like me, who values directness, it's a fascinating, if sometimes frustrating, social experiment. Do you guys ever feel like that?
But seriously, with such diversity, there are also unique challenges, especially when it comes to true social equality. Things like personal status laws are often governed by religious courts, which can create different rules for different people, particularly for women. It's a complex dance. And then you have the large populations of Palestinian and Syrian refugees, who add another layer to the social fabric, but also face significant hurdles. It's not just about different religions. It's about different religions. It's about different religions.
Precisely, Mira. It's like everyone's at the same party, but some guests are stuck doing the dishes. Oops. Now, if Lebanon is a vibrant, occasionally tumultuous mosaic, then Liechtenstein is more like a carefully curated, Highly exclusive art gallery. Small, pristine, and very, very, very homogeneous. You won't find 18 official sects debating over baklava recipes there.
No baklava debate's a pity. But you're right, Leo. Liechtenstein, being one of the smallest and wealthiest countries in the world, doesn't have the same kind of deep-seated internal ethnic and religious diversity as Lebanon. Their diversity largely comes from foreign residents, who make up a significant portion of their workforce. But historically, gaining citizenship has been quite a tight trot, isn't it? One embracing complexity, the other maintaining a more uniform approach.
A tightrope walk indeed. It's like they have a velvet rope at the border saying, you can work here, but don't get too comfortable, darling. And speaking of historical nuances, let's not forget that Liechtenstein was one of the last countries in Europe to grant women the right to vote in national elections. Not until 1984th. Well, I mean, I love an underdog story, but that's a late bloomer, even for me. But hey, at least they got there, right?
Well, better late than never, I suppose. And they've made significant strides since then, especially with things like civil partnerships for same-sex couples. Although same-sex marriage isn't fully legalized yet, it shows that even in a smaller, more traditional society, there's a movement towards greater inclusion. Oh, it's less about the tapestry of different groups being anciently interwoven, and more about how they're choosing to weave new threads in now. A conscious effort, if you will. I'm actually curious about what our listeners who might live in smaller, more homogeneous countries think about this.
Choosing to weave, Mira, I'd say it's more like meticulously adding new threads one by one after a very long committee meeting. Mira, but it highlights a key difference. Lebanon's diversity is historic and inherent, a fundamental part of its identity, often leading to power struggles. Liechtenstein's is more about accommodating external populations while maintaining external populations. And speaking of quiet order, don't forget to vibrant, sometimes turbulent. If you're looking for a vibrant, Averett's your spot.
I love that. And absolutely, Leo. It really shows how social equality and diversity can manifest in such different ways depending on a country's history and size. One is loud and complex, the other is quiet and precise. Oh, you know, our friends over at Jetov Podcast Together are all about exploring these unique differences around the world. They do probably have a fascinating data visualization comparing the two. If you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments on YouTube. We love hearing from you.
They probably do, Mira. Probably with perfectly aligned bar graphs for Liechtenstein and a spaghetti diagram for Lebanon. But it's true. Both present distinct lessons in how societies manage, or sometimes struggle with, the idea of everyone having a fair shake. It's not just about what laws are on the books, it's about how people truly interact and if those smaller threads feel woven in, or just tacked on. Maybe next time we'll find a country where everyone agrees on the best type of coffee. A true utopia, perhaps.
You know, Leo, I was just thinking about how some people can manage their finances like a Swiss watch, while others like me usually find a rogue sock in their organized drawer. Speaking of organization, let's look at a topic that's probably a nightmare for anyone who doesn't like paperwork, taxation, retirement, and social rights for long-term immigrants in Lebanon and Liechtenstein. Well, two countries that couldn't be more different on this front.
Oh, Mira, I can just picture your organized drawer probably a black hole where socks go to contemplate their existence. And yes, from sock drawer chaos to national finances, we're diving into the deep end. Lebanon and Liechtenstein's tax systems are like comparing my stand-up budget to a Hollywood blockbuster. Whoa, one's a bit more prey, works out. The other's here's your silver platter.
Aha! You've got that right. So, let's start with Lebanon, which has, shall we say, a complex financial landscape right now. For long-term immigrants there, the tax structure can be a bit of a labyrinth. Ouch. Income tax, VAT, property taxes, they're all there. But with the recent economic shifts in currency fluctuations, it's not exactly a stable ground for planning your golden years. I'm certain that our listeners living in Lebanon would agree with me, it's a constant puzzle.
Labyrinth is a polite word for it. It's more like a constantly shifting Sinduna of financial regulations. Imagine trying to figure out your retirement plan when the currency is playing hide and seek with its own value. Oops. It's less about calculating your pension and more about hoping your savings still buy a cup of coffee next Tuesday. My observational skills tell me that's not exactly the dream scenario for long-term financial security.
Wait. I want to add something there. While the official systems in Lebanon might be challenging, the incredible resilience and community spirit often mean people rely more on family and social networks for support. It's a different kind of safety net, woven with human connection rather than government paper. Oh. But then, you look at Liechtenstein and it's like a financial fairy tale. Wow.
A financial fairy tale where everyone's personal bankers and Liechtenstein, on the other hand, operates with a relatively simple and low-tax system. Income tax rates are competitive, and their corporate tax structure is famously attractive. For long-term immigrants, especially high-net-worth individuals, it's pretty appealing. Your retirement plans that probably involve deciding which private jet to take to your other private jet.
Oh, I love it. Speaking of neat, in Liechtenstein, the social security system is robust and well-funded. If you're a long-term immigrant working and contributing, you're looking at solid retirement benefits, comprehensive healthcare, and other social safety nets. It's a very orderly approach to ensuring residents are taken care of. No rogue socks in their social security fund, I bet.
Probably not. Their system is so efficient, they probably have microchips in their socks to track them. But truly, if you're an immigrant aiming for stability and predictable retirement, Liechtenstein is pretty much the gold standard. Now, compare that to the daily reality in Lebanon. We're getting reliable public services can be a challenge, and social support often comes from NGOs or family, as you mentioned. It's two different universes of planning, if you guys think this is wrong.
Exactly. So, if you're a long-term immigrant with a family, considering healthcare access or education for your kids, in Liechtenstein, the public services are generally top-notch. Of course, that comes with a higher cost of living. In Lebanon, access to quality healthcare or education often depends heavily on private options, which can be a significant financial burden. Ouch. It really puts into perspective what social rights can mean.
My stomach gets a cramp just thinking about all that paperwork. And even with taxes being low in Liechtenstein, you still need to understand the nuances of wealth tax and capital gains. But it's far more transparent than the official gymnastics you might encounter elsewhere. What about social benefits for unemployment or disability? I'd wager Liechtenstein is far more structured.
Oh, absolutely. In Liechtenstein, it's all integrated into their comprehensive social insurance scheme. If you've contributed, you're covered for unemployment, sickness, maternity, and disability. Oh, it's a very reassuring system, like having a tiny, well-oiled machine taking care of you. You know, Leo, while we're talking about all these specifics, I just had a thought. Don't forget, dear listener, and she'll talk helpful, you can give us a big thumbs up on YouTube and share your own experiences in the comments section.
Mira, always with the perfect seg to our YouTube call to action. I was just about to make a sarcastic comment about tax forms and suddenly Yuri throwing virtual confetti. But she's right. Your stories really help us understand these complex realities. And remember, all this amazing insight is brought to you with the support of Jet-Off AI. They're basically the secret sauce to our comedic chaos. Wow.
Speaking of secret sauce, let's circle back to Lebanon for a moment. While the formal social safety nets may be strained, Especially for immigrants, the communal support often fills the gaps. Aha! You might not get a government check, but you might get a community meal or a neighbor offering help. It's less about formal rights and more about informal care.
And it leads to a very different kind of cultural connection, I imagine. One is built on robust legal frameworks and predictable numbers, the other on human resilience and mutual aid. My stand-up material tends to focus on the absurdities of the former, but there's a quiet heroism in the latter. What a contrast!
It certainly is. So, whether you're drawn to the stability of Liechtenstein's robust social security or the unique, community-driven support found in Lebanon, understanding these differences is key for any long-term immigrant. Wow. It's not just about the taxes you pay, but the peace of mind you gain.
Or the anxiety you accrue, depending on your choice. But hey, if you're trying to pick, think about your financial risk tolerance. Do you prefer a steady, predictable path? Or are you ready for a bit of an adventure, financially speaking? Just don't ask me to do your tax returns for either.
Oh, we've been talking about so many fascinating things today. And now we're diving into something truly special, the rate of meeting specific interests. This topic just makes me want to jump into every single club and try every single hobby.
I was wondering if we'd ever get to the nitty-gritty of why people actually go to these places, beyond the basic sightseeing, right? Like, are you an expert stamp collector or a seasoned rock climber? That's what we're looking at today. And Mira, if you joined every club, you'd need a spreadsheet bigger than the national debt of some small countries.
Oh, come on, Leo. My energy levels are off the charts. I can do it all. Speaking of diverse interests, let's talk about Lebanon. Wow, this country is like a vibrant tapestry woven with so many threads of passion. From ancient history buffs exploring Roman ruins to foodies diving into culinary workshops or dancing the night away in Beirut's famous clubs, it's truly a place where you can find your niche. Or maybe 10 niches.
Yeah, Beirut's nightlife does have a certain never saying ever vibe. But let's contrast that with Liechtenstein. You know, when I think of Liechtenstein, I have beauty and, well, excellent volatile. Well, I'm certain that our listeners living in Liechtenstein would agree with me. If you're into stamp collecting, this is your mecca. I've heard they have special events for philatelists that are probably more thrilling than some rock concerts.
You know, Leo, with your discerning eye for every minute detail. But beyond stamps, Liechtenstein actually caters wonderfully to outdoor enthusiasts. Think about it: pristine hiking trails, skiing in the winter, and some seriously picturesque cycling routes. It's a land where nature itself is the biggest club, and everyone's a member. Ooh. Plus, I bet their local history societies are incredibly dedicated.
True, Mira. If you want to join a hiking group that finishes precisely on time for afternoon tea, Liechtenstein is your spot. Aha, but Lebanon's scene is less organized, perhaps, more spontaneous. 1 minute you're admiring ancient cedar trees, the next you're discovering an underground just bar that wasn't on any map. It's less about joining a formal club and more about bumping into your next passion. You know, the kind of spontaneity that would make my travel agent faint.
Exactly. It's that beautiful, chaotic energy. Like when I tried to take a cooking class there, and half of it was just impromptu storytelling from the chef's grandmother. It was glorious. Wow. So, for arts and culture, Lebanon has a thriving contemporary art scene, music festivals, and a deep appreciation for poetrons. Meanwhile, Liechtenstein offers its princely art collections.
Unchaotic, that's a good way to put it, Mira. For me, a museum where I can actually hear myself think. perhaps even muse on the absurdity of art itself, is a bonus. In Lebanon, it's more like find the art amidst the delightful noise. Do you guys agree with us? I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. If you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments.
Whether you're looking for a quiet, focused community or a vibrant, bustling scene where interests collide, both countries certainly offer ways to meet specific passions, from the specialized world of Liechtenstein's alpine pursuits and philately to Lebanon's rich tapestry of historical, culinary, and nightlife explorations. It's all about finding what sparks your joy.
But the goal has only been set at top 10, so I think that we can conquer that. But that, our journey through these two fascinating countries comes to a close. We can pause our current countries to specialize, to specialize, to specialize, to vestas to lies, of this to life to life. We bring beshen to with eyes, easing twos to without. We bring trees as you nation you without us, you as the way you is mount tree you is cherries using that choose me. Uni is as lay I asked to this purely yesterday. To without as list to add is to it is stories there's led to us without list it is tight easily without well with this to told list over that wait age me unique what wow what was tint of was feet already in just or fin the law. Do not start as if it's the beginning of a new day, and always use.
And
Ensure the expressions you use are varied. The order of the conversation should always be
her lines.
his lines. You can continue with as many sections as you like, but always follow this format and sequence. Decide on the length of each criterion according to the link between the two countries and the theme, the rate of meeting specific interests. The total length should be between 250 and 1,000 words. This episode marks our farewell for now. After sharing all this info, we're signing off until our next comparison podcast. Please follow the Jet for now. Thanks for joining and responding to them truly brightens our day. Thanks for joining us, so until then, take care and see you in the next one more episodes like this.